all their shit to the side and just play the game extremely well.
It seems to be that they just step it up when they need to, but I'm not so sure if they'll be able to do it this time because of how dominant we've been.
We both really know how each other plays, so it'll be a hard match no matter what. I think it'll be close games. I don't think it'll be 3-0 either way, but we'll definitely do our best, and it should be good games.
When we play against each other, things that don't happen usually in games happen. It's either going to be a really quick stomp and one of us is going to play really badly, or we're both going to play really well, and it's going to go into like a very, very like hard-fought game.
This is really our chance to show that we still can beat them when it counts, and today is when it really counts.
Coming up to these intense moments, it's not something we see all the time, that both teams are giving each other a high amount of respect.
Yeah, these guys have respected themselves, each other, for a long time. They both live very close to each other, actually, in San Jose. They have a lot of ties between the teams. They scrim each other more than anyone else, and they know each other.
All right, with that, let's take a look at the lineups in this championship series. In the blue font, it's Cloud9. In that top lane is Balls. Meteos in the jungle. High in mid lane. Sneaky on AD carry with Elimination as usual, backing him up on support.
And in the red font this time, it is Team Solo Mid. Reginald in that top lane seat. The Oddrun in the jungle. Dyrus in the middle. Wild Turtle and AD carry. And X Special on support.
What a cheer. The featured matchup in this championship series is the Rumble in the solo lane of the top. Balls from Cloud9 versus Team Solo Mid's Dyrus.
You can see they're already fighting against each other with a chance here. And these guys are two of the best Rumble players in the NALCS. Balls destroyed Dyrus on Rumble in 1 week. And ever since then, Dyrus has actually been working to level up his Rumble skills.
Yep.
Yesterday, it was Dyrus who had a couple perfectly placed equalizers to melt Vulcan and place TSM in this game. It'll be very interesting to see how much of a priority Rumble is and whether the fight between these two start champion select.
Well, we're about to head into that. Well, while we're still sitting here in the calm before the storm, let's see which team you guys at home and here on your phones even pick to win it all.
Yeah.
According to LOLesports.com, 59% of you think that Team Solo Mid will win their second split in a row and earn the bye at Worlds. And that might be the first time C9 hasn't been on the top of the percentage.
Yeah, Cloud9 with the 25-3 regular season record and the 2-0 sweep they had yesterday has been rolling this entire split. We can't say season because they weren't even in the spring split.
Nope.
That's how quickly they approached this scene. But we know the fan support for TSM. Sometimes people are just voting for their favorite team here with those things, and the 59% I think reflects that.
Fans can always be taken away as well. I'm sure some teams are going to win some fans here. Hopefully not lose too many, but both of them are going to try their hearts out. You heard, you know, even I think it was like Reginald and Dyrus and everybody saying yesterday that a lot of the play comes from the fans as well.
Yeah, and for Team Solo Mid, that's especially true.
Absolutely.
They live off of this energy, and it's actually Cloud9 that's experiencing this. I mean, we've been here all week, Rib, and I don't think the room has ever been as charged as before this game. Even 15 minutes before, they're walking out on stage and setting up, and it's like someone just qualified for Worlds. It's crazy.
The Vladimir out, the Ari, as the bands begin to flow in with the 6 to go. Now with 3 left on that list, Team Solo Mid has focused a lot with the swaps and giving Reginald more control in the picks and bans for the entire strategy. And it has started to come to work for them now, but before it hadn't. So there has been big changes that TSM is coming in on, which those with them still right behind them can be affecting in a bad way.
And there's a lot of history behind every single one of these bands already. The Ashe basically forces Cloud9 into a slightly different team composition, and it's strange for Cloud9 because they've had to play, or they've been able to play so much Ashe, so they haven't been forced away from it that often. And since they can't bring that team fight initiation from the AD carry anymore, it's actually going to force Balls, Meteos, or High to bring extra initiation into these team fights.
They do get Meteos' Elise off the bat. We have seen him beaten and battered in the early part of the game and still come back to be the jungler on top. And I believe that game might have had the most gold.
Yeah, Meteos at one point in the game has the most gold. He actually does that fairly frequently on the jungle because of how amazingly he farms and how much presence he can have in the game. Rumble is something that escaped the pick and ban thus far, as well as Shen. So there's a lot on the board for these two guys. I really want to see if TSM's going for their old style Season 2 strategy, which they absolutely could do. They could do a Karthus Shen Nocturne if they actually wanted to and try to overtake Cloud9 that way. But Cloud9, they've had a whole couple years to learn that strategy and watch it, and they've actually never had to play against it during the LCS. TSM has a lot of options open, though.
TSM banning out that Fizz, but the Vladimir's gone as well. 2 champions that Cloud9 tried their hand at yesterday as they kind of swapped things around to get their victories. The Fizz was enough to pay respect to, so we're going to see High for probably one of his just easy champions to go on. Doesn't have the Zed or the Ahri to pick, so we'll have to see what he goes for.
So what does he have left, right? Because there's been a lot that he's been denied already. He's been, the 2 champions he was spamming before these playoffs started were Ahri games and Fizz games. The other champion that he's always been good at is Zed. He also played a lot of Kha'Zix, but hasn't played it since the Kha'Zix changes. What's happened in this pick ban phase is High has actually been denied his most played champions, or at least most recently practiced champions. Not sure what he's going to be going with. Maybe he could, like, we don't know how versatile High really is because he's never hyper tunneled on any champions.
He's had that twisted fate, and it would help against Nocturne get global.
But at this point, exactly, this is the Kennen that he's picking because since they don't have the Ashe, High is going to be the one leading the charge, and this is their fill to get the crowd control and lock people up in those Rumble ultimates. This is Cloud9 just getting their stuff once again.
And High himself, I feel like he's not thrown off of a comfort level too much because he says any champion that he gets, in his words, I just want to go ham. I just want to go in. I just want to fight. That's what I want to do. And with Kennen, he can absolutely do that.
Yeah, that's, once again, High's style and Cloud9's style. But this leaves up TSM's potential Season 2 strategy, maybe a Season 3 strategy here if they decided to go with Karthus on Dyrus, one of their 2 Karthai players, and also Orianna. I really wonder if there it is. That's the top lane Karthus. TSM's going big.
The double AP comps have been super strong this weekend in their victories. Not many falling behind. We'll have to see if they can do it once again. Special to be picking out what would be going on to the AD carry for Wild Turtle here. His Caitlyn is still open, his anything is still open, but that plays the same for Sam.
And this means for TSM that they have a very weak tank line, which means they will be vulnerable to crisp initiations from Cloud9. Whenever both teams pick as much damage as we're seeing between Cloud9 and TSM, it really all becomes about who can strike faster. And based off of yesterday's games, both of these teams can strike really fast. Cloud9 had some of the smoothest team fights I've ever seen against Dignitas, where TSM just destroyed Falcon, who looked great today. That's interesting here.
That's really interesting.
It's
a close range. Spreads.
They'll still be able to lead initiations in with it. Except now they're a little bit more reliant on Lemon Nation landing his E first.
Right.
But that is still just a boatload of control to allow Balls' equalizer to just shred through team fights. Varus and Ashe are fairly close to each other in the things they can bring. Ashe is a little bit more on the utility side, but Varus can add a lot of the same things. We haven't seen much of it from Sneaky, but it still absolutely can work in the same role.
Sneaky's been known to pull out the Jace as well, so he's well versed in obviously many AD carries.
Everything.
We'll have to see what he can do. I want to say that he has a Varus game under his belt within the split, so it's obviously not new to him, and it looks like Wild Turtle is going to want the Vayne. This is actually a great pick against the Kennen as well because he will be rushing down that Vayne, and the Condemn may be saving her life with that ultimate from the Slicing Maelstrom.
Yeah, it is a very aggressive pick, I have to say, from Wild Turtle, only because there is so much area of effect damage that he has to deal with from Cloud9. Wild Turtle basically has to play flawlessly if he wants to get around all the crowd control from this Cloud9 composition. It's a pick that he needs to get ahead to for it to work. TSM is bringing hyper amounts of damage in pretty much every role right now, and they're really going to have to rely on their mechanics to make it through the onslaught of Cloud9 utility.
If we think about it, with the Wild Turtle clips that we saw where him, acing the hole from long range, a headshot over the wall, he's, like you said, going to be have to be in the fight this time, and all eyes on him because him, Dyrus, playing so well coming into these games,
really stepped up.
Everybody else is picking it up when someone else doesn't, which has already been, since the beginning, a motto for Cloud9. So these guys are about to clash in our NA Finals.
And I was talking to Dan Din, one of TSM subs and Reginald's brother, before this game, and he was actually saying how they're feeling very confident coming into this. Reginald thought they had a 90% chance of qualifying for Worlds and a greater than 50% chance of actually winning this whole tournament, because their scrims against Cloud9 have been progressively getting better and better since the start of the season. He was saying at the start of the season they'd like win 2, lose 15, but now they're starting to take more than they lose, so they're really trending upwards.
Well, from what we saw, remember Team Solo Mid in the spring split, they would kind of do that. We're going to sit around your tower and accelerate that kill. Well, we heard Scar say yesterday, Cloud9 plays to accelerate the game. So again, another strategy that clashes between Team Solo Mid and Cloud9. They are, like you said, practice partners for a long time. They live very close to each other. These guys are in each other's heads, but we are now on to the Rift. Riv and Jad here to bring you the NALCS Summer Finals. Team Solo Mid versus Cloud9.
And the bye is so important for these guys. Really, since the start of the split, these guys have wanted to play each other in the finals. You can tell the fans wanted TSM here too.
I think Cloud9 may butt in sometime soon if the fans feel they need to pick up the chant, but they actually do not. Cloud9's going to go quiet on this one and try to make it stealth. Right now, showing pretty much the AD in mid. They are quite spread out for an early game here, and showing movement to 3 towards the bottom, 2 in that top side. They're going to have to be very careful if they choose to exit towards that tri-brush. Dyrus is going to have to make a quick exit. Finding Wild Turtle.
Yeah, that was a very aggressive invade. They got the lane ward in, essentially, so they're going to be able to see which lane Dyrus goes towards. Because the Varus is such a strong laning champion, Cloud9 actually wants a 2v2 against Wild Turtle next special, and I believe TSM is going to be wanting to 1v2. Dyrus is very good at 1v2ing with Karthus. This is definitely what TSM wants.
Dyrus gets that early ward in. We'll probably see them trying to force and pressure that with the smite down. Sneaky and Cloud9 are going to do just that, making their way in. Going to play the Fog of War here for a bit on Elimination side to Grasping Root over the wall, but nobody will show. Nice clean wards all around for everyone. None the wiser really on positioning just yet. I may have seen that X-Special heading towards the top lane, but he's hugging the wall.
And this is in such stark contrast to the game that TSM played against CLG, where neither of the teams put wards in each other's jungle. There are 5 wards on TSM's side of the map that Cloud9 has placed there, because TSM was giving ground and Cloud9 wanted to know exactly where TSM was going at the start of this game.
Heading towards the top side. Sneaky, they're not going to miss too much CS. It's only going to be about 3, 4, or 5.
What they are going to be missing, though, is the earliest access to level 2. Because they're reactively going up there, the wave has been started by Wild Turtle X Special, which means they're already going to be a little bit ahead of experience. And that actually might turn the tide, so that is not that bad of a 2v2 lane for TSM to be involved with.
And this is TSM doing a little bit of homework as well, because that was an Explorer ward that was placed up towards the top side of that. But they hugged the wall so they couldn't see, which actually is giving them that bit of the level 2 now advantage, because they didn't know which way they had to run. So very well played there, watching everybody ward this weekend by TSM.
And I wonder whether the junglers are going to realize how heavily they've been warded and just farm. Meteos, you saw rush level 3. He got the smiteless pull on his red buff and then smited his own blue. So he is there as quickly as possible, but now he's going back to clear the rest of his jungle. Odd One is actually doing pretty much the exact same thing. They're just mirroring each other with their jungle clears right now because they recognize how heavily warded their jungles were.
Not too much more movement for the Odd One than there is coming out onto Meteos. Meteos is usually one to stay in the jungle, as we say, until he is sure something can be effective on the gank, whether it's a flash, the kill to come in. Good pressure. Cloud9's doing what they usually try to do and pressure all those lanes to the turret, which is old TSM strategy. Get up 400 gold in the jungle, pressure so hard that the jungler really has chaotic places to go.
And at this point, it's just about who has stronger laning champions. Because the junglers know they're warded, and generally, wherever the Odd One shows, it's going to be reactively just pulled back by Cloud9. I gotta say, the Odd One has a pretty tall task keeping pace with Meteos. Meteos is one of the most efficient junglers I've seen in a really long time, always knowing when his gank can work and just running straight for it. Very rarely will you see him hesitate on a gank, which is extremely different from the Odd One's playstyle. The Odd One has been known to wait in a brush for 50 seconds at a time just to get that killing gank. It's a big difference in playstyle, and it's almost kind of testing which one's going to work for this one. They're not going to. We'll see if Odd One changes his playstyle to deal with Meteos, but that's not what he's done in the past.
keep an eye on the odd one and Medios, but we have to remember our matchup as well. That top lane, which is actually going to match up for us, Dyrus versus Balls, and that is the Rumble versus Dyrus again. Balls having that, Dyrus playing Rumble lately because of his engagement and that rendezvous they had during the summer split. So he knows exactly more or less what he's going up against now. So that lane should be better for Dyrus. Right now they are 26-24 in CS. So on the 1v1, kudos to both. Mid lane still very slow, and with the mashed up lanes, again, this is what we're going to get probably for the next few minutes. We do see Medios hugging up back to his camps, but he may not have anything after this Wolf, so we may see him for the first time.
Even though the lanes are matching up evenly right now, it's not because these teams are passive with each other. We will see in this game some very brisk engagements. They will be going straight for each other. We just look at the team of Cloud9. Everyone actually has the ability to start their own fight, including Balls, so they're going to be doing that frequently and often. Whereas TSM, with Nocturne Karthus, they're going to be syncing those ultimates up, and they're going to be going for kills fairly frequently with them. It's just this laning phase means we have to wait for it to happen. They know each other so well, and the junglers were warded early. We haven't seen much action. But now that the wards have all kind of dissipated, we're seeing Medios trying to make some aggressive moves, getting some enemy territory down, and he's looking to make a play.
That is absolutely a deep ward here at 6 minutes into the game. They now have complete vision on the odd one. Now, I don't think that one, obviously, to go after the odd one, but to be in the opposite position of him, knowing where he is, and he's going to try to be on the other side of the world.
Well, a ward like that on the odd one will give lanes Nocturne vision in a sense, because you can't ward the river or regular brush wards to actually stop Nocturne ganks since his gap close is so long with Paranoia. But if you can see him taking a jungle camp, you can reactively know where he's going to be and prepare for him to arrive.
Still very slow. The hard hats are on for both Cloud9 and Team Solo Mid. We're in a best of 5 here for the finals. There is a lot of time for these guys to be playing, and they know to keep pace right now. You can't get too overreactive. If you throw everything out right now, you get inside your own head, and it does not go well. We've got to make sure that all the calls are coming out. We've heard Team Solo Mid at times. If the communication stops, things become chaotic, and that can plague any team.
And if I had to pick a team's strengths right now, I'd say Cloud9 is extremely strong, frighteningly so in the mid game, whereas TSM more so wants the actual late game to arrive. Because Cloud9 will absolutely excel in Dragon fights before TSM has huge amounts of items, just because Rumble plus Kennen locked down with Desire of Era stuff is just too much for TSM to handle, and it means when they do turret dive, Cloud9's going to be able to chase multiple turrets and really just get everyone down if they get the edge in a fight. But if the game gets too late, they drop the Kennen ult and the Rumble ult and not necessarily take down Dyrus or the Odd One right away, and then Wild Turtle's Vein would chase down people. The Requiem would finish them off from Dyrus's Karthus, and it would go that way for TSM. So it's a big lull here at the start of the game. I think Cloud9's going to be the first team to try and make a move, and TSM's maybe going to counter it, but most likely look to survive.
Well, the lanes have already been swapped out here. The tricks trying to be made by Cloud9, answered over by Team Solo Mid. Dyrus heading to the top lane. No teleport, but they do have the global damage coming from Karthus and Odd One, so that Dragon is definitely going to be in their favor if they choose to do so without the Rumble ultimate. But Cloud9 has always turned games around at Dragon. It's almost like just a point they wait for in the game.
Yeah, and these teams are completely in sync with each other. They lane swap bottom at the same time. What this means for Balls, and he's very good at making this dance, is Dyrus can impact a potential Dragon fight with his ultimate. But Balls has to roam down, almost sit in the river after shoving up so he can make his move down in case TSM does rush for a Dragon. It's a very difficult situation for him to be in, but he's pretty used to being in this role.
A lot of pings going down. We'll see if Dyrus chooses to back off this lane.
Oh, man.
Special Wild Target hit up Medios. They're going for the one that can repel. Most of the damage going on to him. They go back onto Lemon Nation. The focus is a little scattered right now, but that's what they were looking for. The Requiem comes down. The 1-for-1 on the supports.
And High wasn't even in that fight. Cloud9 got the 1-for-1 and the first blood, by the way, without their solo laners being involved, whereas TSM had about 4.5 people in that fight because Dyrus used his ultimate to join as well. This actually gives Cloud9 a huge opportunity to push up and maybe get the first objective of the game.
Gold lead nicely in their favor.
High's got ultimate.
Oh, he flies in, Wild Turtle. That's the condemn we were talking about, but he closed the gap fast enough. Got the ignite back on. Sneaky very low. Odd1 picks that up. High's going to be in range. That rush is on quite a big
nice
cooldown
dodge.
right now. He does have 2. Procs the 3rd, gets the stun, hits the shuriken.
Double kill for High on Kennen means big things for his roaming capability throughout this game. Odd1 did well to get a kill back, but that is a win for Cloud9.
It's a deja vu, just like with his Fizz play, going in hard, coming out with the double kill, knowing what he could do this early in the game, and he picked up not the Seeker's arm guard first, but he threw right down to the needlessly large rod to make an impact like he likes to.
Right now, he's not feeling threatened by Reginald's Orianna, so he's going big right away. He wants the Zhonya's Hourglass as quickly as possible, and since he had the gold breakpoint to buy the incredibly expensive needlessly large rod, he went for it early on in the game. Now remember, now the ultimate from Karthus is down, so Cloud9 can just rush this dragon and have confidence. Equalizer is still up if TSM tries to contest this one, which means it's a bad idea to try and stop Cloud9.
Cloud9 takes their very much so coveted dragon that they like to grab. 3-2. Somehow they have now a 2,000 gold lead. That kill is in their favor. The return to the bottom lane. Cloud9 getting a little support from the crowd.
Well, they're definitely off to a good start. This is, you know, Cloud9 has actually shown that they don't even need to come out with a good start to turn around the game. But a 2,000 gold lead here, 11 minutes in. First dragon, fairly consistent turret pressure. Things are definitely looking up for them. You can see Sneaky is ahead of Wild Turtle in items right now. High is obviously ahead of Reginald because of his involvement in the turret dive in the bottom lane. And of course, Meteos is actually getting farmed with by the Odd1. So the Odd1 is changing his jungle style a little bit in order to try and keep pace with Meteos. We've seen too many people just get completely obliterated by Meteos' farm. Darius has to watch out for this dive.
Going in on a dive. He tries to throw down the Defile, but High is going to be able to waltz out of this one with that exhaust on him. Oh, one more layways. Does he have the Yordle shoes? He what? What? Oh, my word.
He's got his Nikes on. He's able to dodge every single one of those. Crescendo gets Lemon.
Oh, man, I thought that was going for Sneaky, but Lemon was just on the outside, and they sing it down, and they put him to bed. Wild Turtle trying to get to that's pretty low health for a turret dive, and he backs off just in time.
Great crowd control chain by TSM to kind of get one back. Cloud9 had the lockdown in the top lane, TSM had the lockdown in the bottom lane, and now they have 3 people down here. Cloud9 doesn't have the people that actually rotate down to this turret quickly and get a defense.
So Meteos trying to frenzy up on the mid turret. They are going to try and answer what just happened at the Dragon here. A few more kills coming out. High may be able to get back in time with Meteos pushing up mid so much they are now adapting to the lanes.
Yeah, this game's going to be a lot more of that type of aggression we saw. Turret dives on both sides. Now turrets getting completely pressured as they're just really trading objectives back. Neither one of these teams is the type of team who generally likes to hold punches. They like to be the one that hits first, frequently and often.
Reggie backing in that top lane. See if he will decide to pick anything up. He does finish the Athene's Unholy Grail. Again, the double AP compositions actually from both sides this time.
Yeah, they have both fell in love with this strategy because generally these teams don't play late game. We look when TSM wins. They win 32-minute games. They lose the 40-minute games.
Right.
Cloud9 just plays short almost all the time because they know how to end games. Double AP is very good at that. You can hit your first couple item breakpoints and then just go before the enemy has enough time to really get ready for it.
Oh, Dyrus is just getting picked on all day right now. The wall goes down. That is going to be a good amount of slow with the silence coming out. Balls is forced to retreat.
But it's the lane pressure that Balls is putting on up there. 1v1, he did end up burning his flash there, knowing that Dyrus now has to go back, but just that alone is probably forcing the Odd1 to come up there or risk just giving up the turret. Yeah, he's got to pull away. Actually, that's also allowing him to get off the red buff because Meteos and High are then pressing up to that spot. Cloud9 does this all the time. They get a weakness in one spot of the map and then they just hit it hard.
That was a really smart flash by Balls previously because the Requiem was up and that would have been something Dyrus could have taken advantage of. Reginald trying to press down in mid, finally getting some levels in that W as he went hard on Q to harass, and really maybe a reason that High decided to go for that needless Ardrod.
Yeah, and you can see that because Reginald's hitting a little harder now, High's got to worry about that lane.
Yep.
High didn't build any defensive itemization on Kennen. Sometimes you'll see them go for an Abyssal Scepter if they're against another AP lane, but just not the case this game for High. He's really rushing that needlessly large rod. And we've seen High be able to survive lanes in the past. It's not a bad choice. It just means Reginald can have a bit of his way with them.
There's that caster AD. Oh, sneaky dodges the crescendo. The cleanse comes out, but he's going to get it with the ulti. The Requiem doesn't take down Lemon. Special plays the final chords for Zyra to go down. They are not going to finish up any more on that, but a great pressure in middle by Reginald for a turret as well.
And yeah, you can see these guys just going at it. This bot lane wants to fight all the time. Wild Turtle did a great job to get out of Lemon Nation Stranglethorns, but at the same time, Sneaky made a play of his own. He comes out with a kill, whereas the support for TSM, X Special, gets a kill out of that one. Cloud9, you'd have to say they won that exchange.
Very even in CS, except for 126 to 114 between the AD carries, which is Sneaky coming out pretty big there. The items, not a big discrepancy, however, just those boots to keep Vayne safe. Wild Turtle knows he is a huge target. The Kennen is completely telling you you're going to get dove on.
Yeah. And I kind of want to touch back on the jungle that we talked about earlier with Meteos and the Odd One. That is more farm than you almost ever see the Odd One with. He's spending a large amount of time this game just farming his jungle so he can tank up and really try and keep pace with Meteos. 107 to 104 is an impressive score for the Odd One because Meteos generally just outfarms anyone. What this means, though, is Odd One hasn't had as much time in the lanes to gank, and it's really affecting TSM's overall game flow.
Also, with these kills, Meteos has helped to somewhat snowball his lanes with those 2 assists. One of those going to the Odd One, and we talked about the fact that they don't have a tank. It may help them to bolster up into that spot. They need to get to that late game. Wild Turtle just on the outside, deciding to go back there. Special, very, very dangerous situation. He gets flashed on, frenzied, the repel, and the turret.
You can just see the aggression from Cloud9 in an instant, but TSM also has an answer for this. TSM's losing a little bit of ground every time they're doing this because it's a turret for a turret and a kill. And it just means that TSM needs to be a little bit quicker on reacting to these things, or they need to make the moves quicker themselves.
Zanya's finally finished up onto High. Bloodthirster coming out onto Sneaky. Instead of that Infinity Edge, you want to get that maximum damage out of casting that either Q and your E. Let's see if they can continue here with this Dragon. Doesn't look like they're going to find any problems. That will be theirs, so they go for another one on the game. So all the turrets that are being matched, the 2 Dragons now for Cloud9, that's 27,000, a 3 gold lead. 3,000 gold lead.
Cloud9 is playing very solidly early on in this game. They're also approaching the items that they really care about. Also, that blue elixir that High has picked up means they really want to push the tempo quickly. We know that they are a mid-game team right now.
It's a big chunk of gold.
And they have a mid-game advantage at this point with the 2 Dragons and with the traded turrets. They might look to get down this middle area very quickly. If they can get down the outer shell, it means substantially more fights that Cloud9 could then force inside the TSM jungle.
And we actually see Wild Turtle going for the Bloodthirster as well. Not the first time this weekend Vayne has done that.
He's been going for the Bloodthirster this weekend instead of the Blade of the Ruin King. It just goes in with the whole TSM late game style that they want to get out of this game. I say late game style in the sense they're not going to play to stall for late game like a CLG, but they're going to build for it in case it gets there.
This turret looking like it's going to go down. A few more attacks here, but it is prepped, so maybe they'll keep it up. The Dragon was taken down recently. They're going to want that turret now, however. TSM taking down the bottom, and they're making sure they don't get caught out here. That was a pretty good position to go back for red and make sure nothing was happening.
And this game is about to get wide open with the middle turret here on about a hit from High, and TSM taking down the 3 outer turrets of Cloud9 as well. There is so much open space on this map for fights to happen. Knowing that Requiem and Paranoia are up for TSM means they can force generally anywhere, and also knowing Cloud9, how everyone on their team can force their own fights, means they're going to be fighting a lot as well. There's no turrets to protect people, and they both want to get their farm here, so we're going to see a lot of fights and contention.
Oh, High and Balls do not realize they walked over a ward getting here.
This is a trap.
Chat, we talked about things. If it takes longer than 15 seconds, you should probably get out of there. And look at the map. They are all congregating around that position, and it would have spelled bad news in a few more seconds.
Yeah, it might be right now. I mean, Odd One's trying to force in on this one, but it's a tough engage.
They go on to Balls. Now, both champions of Cloud9 have a speed steroid to get out of this. Balls looks like he could be safe, but High decides to flash in with Lemonation coming on the outside. Where is Reggie coming onto the fight? Special on the backside. Dyrus looks like he wants to get into this one. High with the Zanya's down. He is going to get bursted quick. The disengage pops up and looks like TSM is actually going to be able to come out pretty big on this one. Reggie there finally gets hit up. Going to go ahead. Not throw out the wreck. He's going to hold it.
Yeah, this has just been a crazy fight. We knew this fight was open. Can they kick special? Because they're all trying to come in.
They know Meteos is coming from behind. That's why they didn't stop. No, the Odd One. Don't do that. He is going to back off. Tries to get the fear to completely discontinue that.
Well, that's the open field fights we were waiting for. We know that Cloud9's internal timer, you talked about the 15 seconds, is a little smaller. They actually started running away after about 5. And if we can see how this fight just got initiated on, if Cloud9 hadn't started running away right away, they wouldn't have actually been able to support this fight as well. That was a rare equalizer missed by Balls, and High ended up just crushing down Reggie. That was basically a 2v4 for the start of this fight. But a couple other things happened in this fight. Meteos just killed Wild Turtle on his way over. He caught him in a bad spot and just bursted him down. That's what swung it. It distracted the rest of TSM. Sneaky followed up with that ultimate, and it ends up giving Cloud9 the advantage in a fight which they were initiated on.
That gold gap closed just a little bit now. 9-6 in kills as TSM finds themselves a bit of something to put up on that board along with their 3 turrets. Special grabbing out 20-minute oracles. You see the same thing over on Elimination as we check him. He does not yet, but Elimination and crew usually control the map with wards anyways. Those pink wards, what he goes for.
Yeah, also the boots of mobility on Zyra, because they know how open this map has become. He needs to be able to go from point A to point B as quickly as possible to just keep pace with where TSM is moving. It's 3 turrets to 3 now, Riv, and you know, Meteos at 2-0-2 and huge amounts of tank itemization is really telling me Cloud9 is going to be looking for a dive fairly soon.
Going right in, Elimination on the left side. He's going to have to go all the way around, but it will be a sneak attack here coming up on the Odd One. He got the stun could come out on Turtle, but will he get it out of Odd One? The shield to be there. He gets the lock up, but is it coming again? Elimination just could not get the roots out to lock him down once more. Getting out of these fights.
High is just looking so powerful right now. After the double kill he got in the early game, he just 1v2'd right there, burned the Nocturne ultimate, and took down Wild Turtle, who, by the way, is 1-4 right now, and this is that Cloud9 mid-game spike that they are just going for.
22 minutes in there, right knocking at the front door of TSM's base already. 57 seconds on the Dragon, and I think on the mind of Cloud9 right now, but look how they move around these pink wards that are actually placed by Elimination. They placed that and shifted towards mid, but always stayed there to utilize its ability to take out wards and utilize just its vision, because they aren't buying the oracles yet.
And this is just a very well-played, just like fast chess match in a sense, because so many turrets have been going down. Everyone has been initiating on each other, and it's just a matter of quickly calculating who has the advantage in these small fights, because Cloud9, anyone can fight. Even though High is looking for the team fights, he just showed how powerful he can be in a 1v2. Dyrus has been trying to farm up as much as he can. That side lane Karthus is not something we see much of. His Requiems are trying to keep pace, and Wild Turtle in particular has been the one who's been getting picked on the most. I think if Wild Turtle doesn't get going, Cloud9's going to win this game, and they want to die. 5-man Shockwave!
The Shockwave goes down, but so does the Locket of the Iron Solari. They mitigate quite a bit of damage on the next attack. Balls is tanking the turret for his team. He got the equalizer off there, but they are going to be backing out of this one now. Very, very scary there for Cloud9, and a great fight at the turret, but it's 2-1. Balls was the only one going down.
Yeah, it was a 4v5 right there, so despite a 5-man Shockwave that drew gasps from the crowd, they didn't have the immediate follow-up in damage. Dyrus could not get in range, Wild Turtle was not there, and now Cloud9 is not letting up, but this is a very dangerous place for both teams to be. They're going right onto the Dragon, 4v3, but low.
High still has his ultimate. It is going to be huge. They're going to try to once again initiate the fight. The Lightning Rush goes in.
Can he get him?
Trying to hit the Electric Surge. It will kill, but it does not in range.
And Meteos goes to a minion, gets the stun, can he get him?
Very nice play there. Cloud9 never giving up. They get one thing, they want more, then they can stop.
Yeah, they've gotten 13 kills playing that way this game, and even though that was an incredibly risky move, or it felt risky because they were so low, they were in control the entire time. Cloud9 makes a lot of decisions, and very rarely are they the wrong ones. But here's another decision from TSM. They know that everyone on Cloud9 is immensely low right now. They're trying to 3-man this Baron. If Karthus can get in range, they can kill it even faster because Cloud9 is recalled. But Balls is on the hunt. He's looking for this. Let's see if he drops him down.
He just throws it in the den. There's not much you can do about that. Nice guy,
trying
Balls,
to stall.
trying to get out. It's going to be 4-on-1 here, and he will not be going anywhere.
Another quick decision. Cloud9 flashing in, doesn't get it. High flashes as well.
High tries to get into the fight. He throws on the slicing maelstrom. There's no way that's enough to lock up the team as they come in the too far away. But what they are doing is setting this baby up.
This game is crazy. TSM has been pushed back from the Baron, and now Cloud9 are the ones trying to get it. The odd one, though, is behind. There's a pink ward telling him he has not been spotted, and he does have flash up. X-Special is trying to give him vision over the top. Cloud9 may have to pull off this Baron, but is getting extremely low, and TSM is trying to initiate from the bottom.
It's got quite a bit of health on it. Dyrus from the backside. Wild Turtle dodges the chain of corruption. High into the wall. He goes down. The area of effect majorly down for both teams now. A very powerful Requiem. About 800 health between three members right now of Cloud9.
But the dodge from Meteos with his repel does not let Dyrus get the kill. The shutdown did come. 500 gold for actually Baron killing High. Let's check this out again. Dyrus moved in at the right spot. This was a forced move, really, by both teams going in. High did pick up that double kill before going down, and look at that dodge by Meteos. Then go into the blue buff to get a little bit of extra distance. Still unkillable on Elise.
2 sets of home guards already coming out, which means Cloud9 is going to own the map even more. Just regular tier 2 boots coming out on the side of TSM in an interesting build. You know, you see the AD carries can all be built the same way. Totally skipping crit on the AD caster as Sneaky builds Varus.
That's the Varus build. We see a lot of it over in Europe, actually. The Bloodthirster to Last Whisper build, since that game over in Europe is so mid lane focused.
Yeah.
They really use the AD carry as a bit of a caster themselves, not necessarily the carry, but to nuke down the enemy so the mid can actually go and clean up. And that's exactly what Sneaky is going for right now. That last item could very well be an Infinity Edge later,
right.
So not really going for the attack speed yet. Varus does get a lot of attack speed from his passive, so that's a little bit of what Sneaky is relying on. Whereas you look at Wild Turtle, he's still trying to be now a bit of a split push Vayne, the static shiv helping him push back the lanes, but the real power of TSM lies between Reginald and Dyrus. They're both starting to hit their builds. Reginald has the death cap, which is very strong. Not much magic resist has been built up by Cloud9 yet. And Dyrus, once he gets that Void Staff, is going to be crushing people with his ultimate.
There we go, on to Lemonation, but there's the rest of the team. Odd One should be able to take a few hits here. That's why he wasn't too worried about giving him a little bit of harass as they move up for the fight. 45.5k to that 38, we'll say 39,000. So that's 6,500 gold lead for Cloud9 is completely finished items for them. As we look at some of those inventories, the reason they are up is because of those items.
And High is on the side, meaning he wants to die.
Goes in on a Dyrus. There's that condemn backwards we were talking about before. Kind of nullifies the slicing maelstrom. But again, everything Cloud9 does is just to do more.
And here they still have follow-up initiation. High gave them the window in which to take the turret. But TSM still has to be scared because Cloud9 has so much that they can throw at him.
Quickly taking down the turret. Team Solo Mid not even trying to split push this game. They have to put all 5 in the base to defend. Lemonation picking up the first one onto the Odd One. Sneaky onto a rampage. Looks like no, Lemonation gets a double kill onto that. They will continue the fight. Wild Turtle on the backside getting command protect, trying to keep safe as they just have to back off the inhibitor.
A 3-4-0 for Cloud9 because they had the follow-up initiation. High was still having a big presence in that fight without his slicing maelstrom. So great push by Cloud9. They are using their mid-game supremacy right now, extending their gold lead to 10,000, getting an inhibitor, making sure they're up 3 turrets. This is all going well for Cloud9.
And, you know, we talk about builds a little bit more. We look at Dyrus's Karthus. We saw Zamfira. He went for a bit of the same thing, but he didn't go for the Seraph. He went Rod into Cap and then into that void. So we're not going to have the Rabadon's damage coming from Dyrus. He's going to try to be a constant nuisance in the fight.
Yeah, he's cheating his build a little bit here because he recognizes he doesn't have time to ramp up. In a perfect world for Dyrus, he was able to get his Rabadon's Death Cap and then build the Void Staff. But because this game has been so well accelerated by Cloud9, with so many dragons going down, with 9 turrets across the map, the game is too fast right now for him to finish that, and he needs the Void Staff sooner rather than later. So when Meteos dives in with that Locket and with that Negatron Cloak, Dyrus needs to be a threat, because right now Cloud9 isn't caring about him. They're diving through him, and Dyrus needs more power.
And in 2 lanes right now, if we look at this, TSM is up about an average of 30 CS for Reginald and Dyrus onto the lanes that they did face. But the communication and the unity of Cloud9 kind of nullifies that.
Exactly. TSM has been farming a little bit better, but that's because Cloud9 has been more objective focused. And they've been getting more kills. They're still going to look to try and dive this one. The middle of TSM's base is already exposed. Maybe we'll see Cloud9 come around the side and try and force them off that way. Turns out Cloud9 is going to display a little bit of patience here because they know they have a pretty good lead built up already and don't want to make a mistake.
It's that we're pushing a pushed lane. We have it past River in the top side with another one coming and Dragon. Let's allow them to kind of farm up, or I think they're going to go top and make sure this Baron doesn't get taken out.
Yeah, we're about 30 minutes in, which is nearing the end of the game if we're thinking about the way these two teams play against each other. This fight could happen at any moment. Cloud9 is looking for stuff. They're all posturing. There's the equalizer!
Oh, he throws it down. It's going to be the exit, and they have to walk over it. Dyrus is in the middle. It's exactly where he wants to be. Locket of the Iron Solari comes out.
Sneaky!
Everybody's trying to disperse. Double kill coming in for Sneaky. Again, Lemon Nation picks one up for himself. Doing good things for the team. Doesn't take anybody but Sneaky on the triple.
The Locket of the Iron Solari with the scrap shield from Ball saves him from Dyrus' ultimate, and that's a 4 for 2. And since there are super minions pushing and X Special is the only one alive, Cloud9's going to look to end it on this push.
Definitely got his work cut out for him in this best of 5 series. Game 1 looks to be in the hands of Cloud9 in one more Nexus turret. And the HP of the Nexus. Ball's still alive, could go down here. Gets himself away from the attack. They will be able to drop X Special. That's an overall quadra in the extended fight for Sneaky. And the Nexus in Game 1 of the NALCS Finals.
That was a great game. And a great start for Cloud9 in this series. They're already pumped up. They need to make sure to keep this momentum going through because 24-11 in only a 31-minute game. That was extremely action-packed. And we can only hope for more of that as the series continues. We're analyzing phase right now. They need to make adjustments for Game 2 because, as you said, back and forth, trade for trade, and eventually Cloud9 just gained the upper hand because they were making faster moves, better moves, and executing more.
A lot of the picks and bans there had a huge role coming into that game. And really, I think it was for TSM with Kennen getting picked out, right, for high.
Yeah.
It's kind of not something that they faced. So almost the pans that they let them get were something that they weren't used to, the tendencies they're not used to seeing, and that's sometimes even harder to play against.
The picks and bans between these two teams are fascinating.
It is.
Only because
Cloud9
fast. Has, yeah, and Cloud9 picks faster than anyone, by the way, but because the size of their champion pool, and also if we shrink it down to see how small their champion pool has actually been against TSM this year, it means TSM doesn't have much experience playing against their other team compositions.
Absolutely. But we're going to send it over to Kobe and Freak for a breakdown of Cloud9's Game 1 win.
Thank you very much, Riv. We are here, and that Game 1 win was very interesting because it started out a little bit slowly, and then High went crazy.
Yeah, Cloud9, like Jat said in the game, they were making trades, turret for turret. TSM would answer, but Cloud9 would get turret for a turret and a kill. So they slowly built up this kill lead that then pushed them over the edge in the team fights.
And early on, all those kills went on to High. He rushed that Zonya's Hourglass. His first item, aside from the Doran's Blade, was a needlessly large rod. He started the game basically with 80 extra ability power, and time and again he would turn fights or win them by himself. And in fact, one of our first clip actually is
Second clip is that.
Second clip.
Before we get to that, let's talk about the other thing Cloud9 control, which is dragons.
Yeah.
They do a very good job of controlling the dragons. We mention it every single time, but it seems really spooky how TSM actually went for the dragon because they had a Karthus up top, so they thought they had extra damage that was going to come in and help them win a 4-on-4. Cloud9, as soon as TSM start this dragon, cut him off. So let's pull up this dragon clip before we get to the high power that he got. TSM are starting up this dragon because Karthus is up top. He can Requiem down. We'll be able to take this one. Let's roll the clip through, and we can see Cloud9 cut off the bottom lane of TSM. Even though it's 4 versus 3 here, so much damage went to Xpecial, and Xpecial missed his crescendo that he has to pay for that one with his life. Sneaky, one last auto attack before flashing away to get out of that one meant that Cloud9 with 3 members were able to trade 1 for 1, grab a first blood, and stop that dragon so that they could return there later and grab that one.
And that was actually a really cool play by Sneaky, too, because it felt like he was caught out. He was kind of alone there. He said, oh, wait, no, Xpecial's really low, and turned back in the middle of 3 enemy champions, shot him, and then flashed away, buried the counterattack damage, or buried the Requiem at the very end there. And I was like, oh my god, you're going to die for getting that kill. But it actually wasn't him who went down. And I think Sneaky in general for that team doesn't get a lot of credit because he's not generally the flashy playmaker. Aside from Ash Arrows, he's kind of he's there in the background, kind of playing a crowd control role. And Sneaky, you just saw right there and throughout kind of the game as well, Sneaky did a really good job, I think, that game.
Yeah, and that fight opened up the door for High on his cannon. And you can get to the first double kill right after that dragon fight. He roamed down. That's where he got his power spike that you're talking about.
Yeah, I actually thought High was in that fight because it was such a convincing victory. And then you're like, no, High's not in that. I was like, no, but I thought he was. Oh, no, that wasn't him at all.
Yeah.
It was actually undermanned.
So let's pull up the second clip here. And this is after High's gotten a whole bunch of double kills. He's so strong right now. Even though TSM want to make use of their global, they bring in Odd One here to 2 versus 1 High with Wild Turtle. Because High already got the harass down under Wild Turtle, he's going to win a 2 versus 1 situation here. Let's roll this one through, and we'll see how he pulls it off. The ultimate, even though there's a cleanse for Wild Turtle, enabling him to get out of the Maelstrom, he goes right back in and goes down to it. Requiem goes off, Paranoia goes off. Well, he does not care. High still comes out ahead in that.
That was really well played, too. He actually noticed that he had 2 marks of Storm on Wild Turtle, saying, if I hit W, you will get stunned, and I got a free shot with Thundering Shuriken.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Very well played by the entire team of Cloud9, not just High, though. They all had really good rotations.
Yeah, it's what we kind of talked about with this game, where they take a little bit and then take a little bit more. And it's always been something that I've tried to keep in the back of my mind for how is Cloud9 so successful with their tower dives? Because when they didn't pick Zac all the time and they weren't picking Jarvan all the time, I was like, well, how are you engaging? Like Meteos is on Nasus, or he's on Elise, he's not on a hard engaged champion. How are they still doing it? And we were actually seeing High would flank around over the Wolf camp and go in with the ultimate and burn the ulti just to get TSM to run away, just to get control over a turret. And it was like, oh, these really cool moves where you flank or do other crazy things to get map control. They've done a lot of really cool things this game.
And they still had that crowd control from the bottom lane that they like to bring with the Varus combo.
Yeah, so very well played game there by Cloud9, taking the game 1 win, but it's a best of 5. They need 2 more over the next 4 games. Now we've got to take a quick break, but when you return, Team Solo Mid and Cloud9 face off in round 2 of the championship fight. So don't go anywhere. The LCS Regional Playoffs live from PAX Prime will be right back.
The best of 5 is definitely going to be in our advantage because we got the home crowd. We have experience in playing long-term games, but at the same time, we'll see who adapts faster.
Welcome back to PAX Prime in the 2013 NALCS Regional Playoffs. It's time for Game 2 in this best-of-5 championship bout between Team Solo Mid and Cloud9. And after an action-packed Game 1, Cloud9 walked away with the win in just over 31 minutes.
Yeah, and Hai said yesterday that he wants to just go in hard all the time. He wasn't lying. He got a couple of kills early on in that game, and then after that he could 2v1 and 3v1 TSM with his cannon. And TSM actually banned away Sneaky's Ash. But it didn't really phase Sneaky. He had a great game on Varus anyway, just still initiating with ultimates and cleaning up teamfights with awesome snipes. And we can't talk about Cloud9 without talking about Meteos
Absolutely.
once again. He was once again unkillable on Elise, 4-0-10, dodging Requiem, saving teammates with Locket, out-farming, initiating, and just doing everything for that team.
You know, at the beginning I was kind of like, all right, he plays Zac a lot. He gets the passive, and he's not going to die. But no, he just actually doesn't die.
Yeah, it's because he has such good situational awareness. He makes a lot of decisions, and he makes the right decision frequently. So it's just an amazing jungling ability. Maybe if they completely try to focus bans on Meteos, we could see him go out, because we know he does get comfortable on champions. He's played Elise every game so far this time.
Yep.
He hasn't played Jungle Zac in a while. Maybe if TSM tries to mix him up a little bit, it might be a better strategy, because everyone else on Cloud9 has already proven that they can adapt.
He did have a fair game on the eve, and you know, to add on to that adaptation, last game with Sneaky on Varus was one of the ones we saw him get more farm, participate more in fights instead of be a utility type of AD carry, and he really kind of did his own thing that game.
It's a really strange thing. We always talk about how Sneaky can do more with less, how he knows how to sacrifice farm into his jungle. But then at the end of the game, we look, and who's getting triple kills? Who has the top gold on Cloud9? It's Sneaky. How'd he do that?
Quadra kill in the extended fight, taking out Expecial in the end, as he did what he could on the Nexus. But that one Nexus means that Cloud9 is 2 games away from being the NALCS champions, as well as moving on to Worlds with Team Solo Mid and Vulcan. That spot, very coveted right now, that Team Solo Mid holds.
It's going to be huge being able to skip the group stage for one of these teams at the World Championships, and this is the adaptation TSM's trying to make. It's small, but it's there. They're banning Elise, they're making Meteos go into something else, and then Cloud9 actually stuck with fairly similar bans. The Vladimir Ari is something they're going with every game. That Zed could mean big things for Reginald, though.
Rumble has not been banned. I think if we had a Twitter question between the games, it would have been, I think they should ban Rumble, but that didn't happen.
So if we put up a Twitter question for what champion should TSM ban against Cloud9, we can get about 25 different responses. I think every time after Cloud9 wins, it's like, why didn't they ban Elise, Zac, Ashe, Zyra, Jarvan, Zed, and Kha'Zix? Because you can't. It's just not something you do. Anyway, the Nocturne pick here by Meteos has me a little bit excited, because the last time he played Nocturne, he brought out the damage Nocturne, Ravenous Hydra, Last Whisper, and he was just blowing people up. Cloud9 actually comboed it with Twisted Fate that time. I wonder if they're going to do something similar here and just make it so Wild Turtle's not allowed to play the game.
They like to go for that AP composition. Right now it does put Reginald on the 80, so they aren't focusing on that altogether, but Dyrus likes the matchup of not having to be face-to-face with Rumble.
Yeah, he...
Picking that Karthus.
He didn't have the best Karthus game last time. Rumble was able to run him down a little bit.
Once he got those levels.
But I can see where TSM is coming from with this composition. They're overloading with damage right now in their solo lanes, which is actually something Cloud9 has done a lot of to great success this split. For the last few TSM picks, they actually need to find a fair bit of utility, and I'm wondering what the odd one's going to pick to get the sufficient amount of lockdown. With the Jarvan, the 4th ban, it makes it a little bit more difficult for the odd one. Zac is pretty much all he has left when he's trying to make that initiation. It fits perfectly.
It will be a bit of the lockdown they're looking for, some of that soft core CC. The Twitch going on to Wild Turtle. Shen making it all the way through on this one as well. Very interesting kind of pick ban phase that's going on here. The players really had everything, it seems, set in mind coming into this one.
Yeah, they could just go Kennen again as well, because they would like
Yeah,
that
for
little
high.
bit of additional lockdown. I think it's between Kennen and Twisted Fate right now, because obviously his Ahri and Fizz have both been somewhat banned away, and he goes with the Kennen.
Why not? You have all of the area effect to follow it up. They liked that Varus last time. Sneaky participating in the fights worked out quite well, especially towards the end game, as we stated. But these teams, it looks like they just gave Cloud9 what they won with.
It's not about giving Cloud9 what they want. It's about Cloud9 taking what they want, because they want so much right now, and they can get it almost whenever they want to.
We'll see if they can do it. High does get his Kennen back. It's going to be against the AD of Zed, though. That's a lot different of a matchup. That can be punished quite hard. Zed just stands in his minions. Kennen always has to be around that, unless he has his Shuriken up to mark the storm. So it's going to be an interesting mid lane. Our top laner was the last one in balls. Definitely came out on top of Dyrus for that one. So,
yeah,
you know, making one for this one, let's just say we're looking at High and Reginald for here.
And we still got to talk about how great that game one actually was between these two teams, because that was the most well-played 31-minute defeat I think I've ever seen by TSM right there, because they were matching Cloud9 blow for blow throughout the majority of that game, but Cloud9 was just hitting a little bit harder. It was incredibly action-packed, and it means TSM didn't really lose by that much. It's just the game was so extremely accelerated that it ended up ending a little bit early.
One of the first games we didn't see any sort of invasion as well in the early part of the game. A little bit back and forth, but those first bloods to come one after the other and then be followed up. So if that sticks with it, again, lane matchup's going to be even. We'll have to see. But looking for the first dragon. If nothing happens before that, expect Cloud9 to win that fight.
Yeah, Cloud9 lives around dragon fights. And even with this team composition, they have the Kennen Rumble combo once again with Zyra Varus lockup. The only difference is it's Nocturne instead of Elise. 4 of the 5 parts of Cloud9's team composition from game 1, they have once again. That's when Cloud9 gets their comfort zone. They do not care what you go up with against them. They'll play their game.
All right, beautiful people. We are into game 2 here of our best of 5 series, the NALCS Summer Finals. Cloud9 versus Team Solo Mid. Game 1 to Cloud9, quite definitively, as Jat said. I think it's a good way to put it. The best defeat, you know, that you've seen.
Yeah, it was a very hard-fought game by both of these teams. They're showing why they deserve to be in this final game, fighting for that bye in the World Finals.
Big party in middle.
Party time.
Nice little hit there. Sneaky actually choosing out to go for the piercing arrow first, so it doesn't look like they are thinking for the engagement. And there's not too much that either team can really do on an initial level 1. But
wow, and look at how much these teams have scouted each other. As soon as TSM got spotted, they actually pinged the 3 spots that Lemon Nation just warded, preemptively. They're pinging them again. They're just like, ward there, they pinged the red buff, and they pinged above there. So TSM knows exactly what Lemon Nation just did, and they guessed right. That's impressive.
This time, however, Meteos is not going to die at Tribrush.
Not today.
Not today.
Well, maybe today. We still got plenty of games.
That's true. That is true. So the 3 wards sitting in that bottom jungle, the bottom-most ward being the Explorer one, that is to catch who is going to lane, so they can either match it up or switch it up to the 2v1s.
And the last early game was actually quite reserved between these two guys. They respect each other a lot in the laning phase, because we got to remember, Cloud9, before they were even in the LCS, they had 5 accounts, I believe, in the top 9 of Challenger. They're all individually incredibly skilled in lane. They're kind of good at that. Whereas Wild Turtle has, at one point, had, I think, 3 of the top 5 Challenger accounts. Like, these guys know how to lane. And that's why they respect each other so much in these situations, because they've laned against each other more than anything.
Day in and day out, this is what they are seeing. They know it the best, and that's why they sit on the stage in front of you with your cheers to lead them on. 2 minutes into this one, like you said, Jap, probably going to play the same pace as last game here. We do have the 2v1s to match up, so we may see a little bit more from the junglers in the beginning. Not extremely fast, but that potential is there.
And Meteos actually got a little bit outplayed here, because he is trying to take the blue buff in a lane where his AD carrying support can't help him. He took a lot of harass to get that down, and it actually pulled balls in to save him.
A level 1 special High coming down a little bit here. He's not going to miss any experiences. Reginald also came down to help. Both of them returned to lane at the same time, so that'll be a little bit chaotic for Cloud9. But they still get the blue, and they're off and running.
Yeah, so That was actually, even though Meteos got away with it just fine because they made a quick reaction, a very dangerous situation for Cloud9 to be in. Oftentimes, when a jungler is planning his early route, he needs to make sure he takes his second buff on the side where his support and AD carry are when you're doing 1v2 lanes. Otherwise, that 2v1 lane is just going to be able to collapse down and outnumber you at the buff. So if TSM actually would have sent Wild Turtle and X Special up there to stop Meteos, they could have. They had more priority, though, just farming the lane and pushing up this turret, trying to get balls pushed back.
Trying to lock it down. We know the Balls mentality is that if I am down, I am going to be able to come back in this game. Dyrus getting hit up pretty hard here. This is the 2v1 of the turret. The 3v1 won't be there. Elimination is that Dyrus almost stays alive. This one going over to Meteos.
Tricky little turret dive, but they all get away unscathed right there. Low health on Sneaky, Meteos, and Lemon Nation. And let's see if TSM has an answer. I don't think they do, because the odd one was happily farming the jungle, whereas Meteos was the first one to make the gank kill. That actually substantially surprised Dyrus, since if we track Meteos' overall jungle path and where he got spotted, he went red buff to blue buff, and then went all the way back through his jungle to get behind the turret. Dyrus did not expect him to make that movement. It was actually quite unlike Meteos, because he sacrificed a lot of farm in order to make that gank happen.
He's actually stated that in previous games. I think it was against Crumbs. When Crumbs went to that 2v1 lane and he was there, he said that put them ahead. He had to back and go to the bottom lane to soak up that experience. This time, however, they actually got the kill out of it. So working very nicely, putting it up 500 in gold. And Meteos keeping himself all around the map. That's actually going to help him if he is going for that strong attack damage build.
Check that out. Meteos just built a Doran shield on Jungle Nocturne. Just take a little bit of extra health and quick ability. No Doran's Blade, which is what you generally expect on a Nocturne. Have to see how that works out for him.
Still cleaning up. Looks like he's going to be heading back towards the top side. Dyrus used his flash, used his exhaust. They continued to go after him last game, and again, they're doing it once.
Ooh, there's still no wards up here for Dyrus, so if they get the fear early, or if Balls lands a slow, Dyrus is going to die.
Here it comes out. He misses the Dustbringer, but he's going into the brush. I think he knows he's going to go down in this one, unless he's trying to call time for something.
How long can he last?
Nobody's going to come up, but they do know. Well, look at where Loud One is. They're not able to really activate anything off of this. He was going back, so Dyrus just eventually goes down, but the lane is all the way at the turret, which kind of helps.
Dyrus actually got most of the farm. That's why he ran towards that lane. He's like, I'm getting these minions whether I die or not. He's at 24 CS right now. He died, but he got some back.
Very good thinking in a stressful situation. Not having the flash and exhaust. He actually turned tail as soon as he got hit. And he said, yeah, well, this is bad. Let's make it good. The best of a bad. 700 gold now as Cloud9 does not stop. Just as we say, they take one thing, they want more. We'll see what happens when Dyrus comes back up, but it looks like this top turret is going to get a lot of pressure.
This could also be an early Dragon attempt by TSM, because they recognize that Meteos is up there. They're going to try to tank this one up. The Odd One is a pretty good tank here, and it's a 4v3, but that is a very hard-hitting Dragon, and Sneaky can poke in pretty powerfully.
The Odd One taking some shots. That piercing arrow did hit. Reggie goes on to Sneaky. The death mark is definitely not going to cancel him out just yet, and this could be a scary fight here. Slicing Maelstrom goes in. Reginald takes some good hits. It's going to be the W, but he can't even hit the surge when he comes out of the shot.
2 kills for 0 and the Dragon for TSM. Reginald skims away with his life, and Cloud9 gets nothing in return.
Again, Dyrus doing what he can, does not want to get dove, but I don't think he's going to make it out of this one. The minions go down. The wave is actually not even past River yet, so Cloud9 has himself in a sticky situation up top, but same goes for Dyrus.
Yeah, and Dyrus is actually trying to get out of there right now because he recognizes they dive him on the next wave, so Dyrus isn't letting it get back to the turret. But let's check out this fight one more time. Reginald flashed away just at the right time, gets a little bit of damage down, and the big thing here is Sneaky tried to finish off Reginald. That's why he overcommitted back into the fight as well. And because Reginald had just that sliver of health left as he shadowed away, it meant death for 2 members of Cloud9.
High, that was patented high, because he went to go in, but he actually hit the W before his second mark of his ultimate came off. So knowing he would only come out with 1 kill, actually just had him a little misplay there. 7.5 in.
Big swing.
1,000 gold. That is a big swing indeed. And with Dyrus dying and pushing, Balls is ready to use the equalizer to push it as well.
On top of getting the 2 kills and getting the gold lead, this also changes the way Cloud9 gets to approach the game. because previously they were going to use a lot of presence around that Dragon fight, knowing they had a Rumble and a Cannon ultimate to contest it. And since it was just taken down before Cloud9 really reacted to it, and the respawn timer on Dragon is the full 6 minutes, it just means that Cloud9 can't necessarily start playing their game yet. They have to wait for that next Dragon to come up.
That next Dragon, a few other things. High didn't directly go for the needlessly large rod this time. Had to take into
Didn't have the
respect.
gold.
Didn't have the gold. He's also against that AD, so he's looking for a bit of armor. So his going crazy may be hindered a little bit there, but we saw him with Fizz. He did it before he had a Lich Bane, so maybe it won't.
Yeah, High does know how to come back in lanes, but he obviously is happier when he's ahead. The game Cloud9 wants to play right now, though, is going to be the Meteos efficiency game. How much can he outfarm the odd one?
Right.
And how strong can he get on Nocturne to try and take over the game through the lanes and through Nocturne alt ganks? Because the Dragon has already been taken away by TSM.
In the inventory, same thing goes for Reginald here. Looking to get that Blade of the Rune King on Zed. We saw that last fight. Instantly a laser target onto Sneaky, and that's what he's going to look to be doing. That patented Reggie aggression to come out from Zed. He's already been putting good damage on High in middle. You can see he's winning the trades evenly and is up a level, so he may have that advantage to get out of lane soon.
The Doran Shield pickup on...
Ganks here, you're trying to gank a ninja, guys.
Goes back
He goes back in, but he's going to get some help here as well from the Odd One. The Odd One is always behind Reginald, but is it enough time? It will be for Dyrus. Requiem comes down. The Let's Bounce may not be able to finish it off. It is a red versus a red-blue buff, and they don't want to transfer this. It is going to be transferred.
It's transferred.
They're going to give it to Balls. This should be given to Balls for that red buff.
Yep.
No,
Meteos wants it for himself. He's going to try and take over this game. That might end up being a good call. He can use the red buff better than Rumble can for the most part. That was a very good turn and then turn back by Cloud9 because Dyrus did swing it initially with his ultimate, but then when Cloud9 Balls came down to finish that one off, it really just swung it for Cloud9. If they can get this turret with all of Meteos' power right now, it's going to give them a bit of a gold lead.
Sneaky even playing this one different. 3 Dorans. It was Bloodthirster Last Whisper last game, and he already had his Berserker boots by now, but he's going 3 Dorans. We saw him do it on Ashe.
Yeah, last game the laning phase was actually substantially more controlled, and that's why both High and Sneaky could rush a BF sword and a needlessly large rod, but because there's been so much fighting, the deaths at Dragon, the ganks mid, it just means they're buying items in smaller intervals. They're just trying to be as powerful as possible because they know how important the mid and early game is between these two teams.
So to recap on the compositions here, we saw the double AP coming through strong all week. TSM, the first one in the series to bounce off of that. Cloud9 stays with the Rumble Cannon. Like we said, this is almost the exact same composition except for Elise in the jungle as game 1.
Yeah, and the only difference, of course, is Nocturne for Meteos, which when he picked it, I actually expected him to start going his offensive Glass Cannon Nocturne build, where he did Spirit of the Lizard Elder and then more offensive items. But he actually rushed Spirit of the Ancient Golem right off the bat. So this is a tank Nocturne start for Meteos. I wonder if he's going to transition into tank items later, because a tank Nocturne, as we've seen in the past, doesn't do much as far as diving late game. Meteos, maybe he's got a different thing figured out for how to work tank Nocturne, but it doesn't seem like his style if he continues on that path.
Lanes seem quite even at the moment. That 91-70, however. Wild Turtle coming up big on the CS there. 76 as well. We see the crescendo in the bottom lane on the Lemon. Oh, Wild Turtle flashes right in front of Sneaky. He takes a chain of corruption around the neck, and it's going to strangle him down to the ground. Lemon Nation coming back in with the team. The ward was there for Special to try and finish the fight. But Meteos just on the wing to support the engage.
402 Nocturne. That gank goes credit to the rest of Cloud9.
Oh, he gets the stun down. The shuriken hits. It's only going to be one more. His W, he has actually no energy. Did not pass through, so it looks like he's not going to get that refund. Looking to get these kills. He's running at Dyrus to dodge the lay waste. Dyrus couldn't turn on Defile because of the mana.
Reginald's still going to want to try and hunt down High here because they're pinging where he could have been. This is the nook that everyone tries to hide in. Let's check out that Reginald chase. If he can find High in that jungle as the rest of Cloud9 takes the Dragon.
Just gets away from it. Not going to see the kill come up, but the Odd One looking to do a drive-by. could get the kill onto Lemonation. The bounce will be there. He sees the damage that Dragon has. He gets the kill, but it looks like it may be grim for him. Maybe not. That's quite low mana coming out from C9.
Yeah, basically Lemon Nation sacrificed his life there so Meteos could get the smite onto Dragon. The Odd One was preoccupied with killing Lemon Nation, and Lemon really let it happen as Meteos controlled another objective for his team. This is another one of these games, like in the first one, where they are just trading punches fast and furiously.
7-5 at 13 minutes, and it's only a 400 gold lead. And this is the game that TSM was able to slightly swing that gold lead back, which they could not do last game. But Cloud9 has found a way to do that. Pretty much even at this point. Somebody is to make that next move. Dragon down. See what Cloud9's pink wards look like. Lemon Nation loving to get those pink wards on the map before he gets the oracles out, but just not yet.
Yeah, so now, because the turret is down for Cloud9's bottom lane, Sneaky and Lemon Nation have a tough time protecting this blue buff.
Yeah.
They kind of have to do double duty at this point, and High is also cheating down to that lane a little bit as well. Cloud9 does not like being down turret, so they're going to look to push TSM back as quickly as possible. High might just look for a kill here.
Those are some chunks right there. Electrical Surge to stop him up. He's going to have another Shuriken.
Meteos found Turtle.
They're slowly waltzing into this fight, forcing the flash on the bottom. Turtle goes down in the top side. That was very calm and collected by Cloud9 with separate fights going on.
They're trying to take control back of this game, and they seem to be getting it a little bit. The last few things that TSM has tried to do have been answered very well by Cloud9. Meteos in particular, though, is someone we need to keep tracking because he is continuing to build tankily, and I think he needs a few offensive items if he wants to have a large impact. So far, so good for him, but that Nocturne doesn't necessarily scale into the late game.
He's only missed one participation in the 8 kills of his team. He is 4-0-3 right now, looking very big. Let's see what they have in store for Team Solo Mids here, but Team Solo Mid still, like I said, very much in this game. Where are they going to be going next? With Wild Turtle trying to get that Infinity Edge, they're going to get more damage than they are out of Sneaky.
Yeah, so at this point for Cloud9, they're really just trying to hold the fort here until their stuff comes back. They want Meteos to find a position for a big Nocturne ult, and then maybe shut down Wild Turtle again. Turtle has been picked on heavily in this series.
All right, let's see what they can do at 8-5 right now. Cloud9 knows they want a few kills, and after that Dragon, they were able to pressure down, continuously try it. The Odd One pretty much risking his life for the rest of the team to come in and get some kills there, but it's not working out for them as much as they're trying because Cloud9 is always on top. The gold lead slightly in favor of C9 right now with one turret in their favor, and like Jat said, that was the turret down by Dragon, down by the buff, so that is positions being lost. Turtle gets caught up all alone here. Sneaky Elimination looking to pick up a kill. Turtle gets himself, oh no, High's on the other side. Oh, man, ninjas are always more sneaky than rats.
Yeah, it seemed like he had made the great escape after that one, but once again, Cloud9 as a team is just picking on him no matter what he does. They just chase him down and are keeping him out of having a big impact on this game.
That Zanya's finished up onto High. We've seen him do big things on Fizz with it. We've seen him do big things on Kennen with it just last game. That kill bolsters their gold lead a little bit more and finally puts at least 1,000 between these two teams here. The top lane pressure onto Dyrus has definitely let up since the objectives become a little bit more increasingly necessary for these teams, but it's still, TSM has that Requiem to use. They're just not finding any engagements, again, being spread so far thin.
And one thing that could be very bad for TSM is the fact that they actually haven't lost turrets yet, but they're very close to losing them because they've lost the pressure grip on this game. So if Cloud9 can fight any of them back, the Goldie's getting bigger, but TSM is not giving up easily.
Crescendo on a Sneaky, a great flash over the elbow of the wall to dodge that Stranglethorn. Wild Turtle just
down again.
got back in the game.
And High just puts him down once again, plus the turret. 3v3. High started slow. He's picking up some steam.
It's one of those things that can keep just making itself true. If you use that ult, usually the team that uses the ult second is going to come out on top, and they have just made it true so far. Dyrus getting picked on here. Meteos very tanky coming in. May not have it, though.
Yeah, he does not care about those turret shots, and Dyrus is no threat to him right now. He's using that tank Nocturne to go where he wants, and since he's at the point in the game right now, level 12, he's still relying mostly on his fairly generous base damages. It's because he's out-leveling pretty much the game right now, level 12. No one is a higher level than him, that he's still making an impact, even with that tank build.
Coming out very strong on the top lane. It's going to be balls. He didn't have too much trouble. 1, 1, and 2. He has been worse off and still done better for the team. So we see strength still coming from there. Looking over, Reginald has actually kind of started double dipping in his recipes. Had that Bilgewater, started a Brutalizer, now the Hex Drinker, really putting respect into the damage of the double AP comps that are being brought out this weekend.
He's basically built that Hex Drinker so he can hope to duel any of the AP champions on Cloud9, but High has built the Zhonya's right away, so he's already got his Zed dueling in the bag. And of course, we look at that gold lead that is now 4,000. And it wasn't there a second ago, but that's because Cloud9 had 0 turrets. They picked up those 3 turrets so quickly, really cashing in the advantage of pushing TSM out of their territory. And now they've went and shopped and hold the item lead as well.
Wild Turtle just finishing the critical cloak on his Infinity Edge. That Bloodthirster already stacking up for Sneaky. Cloud9 is Mounds not ahead, but Mounds ready to start these fights and make these engagements happen, which will eventually put them. Mounds ahead. They may try to get the steal here. It does go to the odd one. But just look at the confidence they think they can put up here, and it is working.
They're one step ahead of the game right now. Reginald was up top trying to shut down balls a little bit, and Cloud9 is just ready for this Dragon, preemptively ready for the red buff as well. Reginald is trying to make that play, dueling the Rumble.
This is big. Reginald doesn't even have that Blade of the Rune King, and he was almost able to zero out balls right now. This could be really big in the engagements. A very nice crescendo on the High. Is the Requiem enough? He does grab balls in the top lane. Divers picks himself up a kill now, 11-6 overall. And they're making Cloud9 disengage off of this one, but can they take more?
They're trying to get something back. Cloud9 spent so much time on that Dragon, and then that was a very good damage trade in the mid lane by TSM. They really want that turret, but look at that wave clear. This is tough.
Cannot do it. That Nocturne, along with that hail of arrows from Sneaky, able to just quickly clear it out. They don't even have Zyra there as well to clear. So the turtle and siege power of these guys of Cloud9 still bolstering up as well. We do have Karthus on one side, Wild Turtle for the fights, and they have a team that kind of can be centered around Wild Turtle to finish off the squishies with spray and pray from the backside, but we haven't seen them try to put that together yet.
They are a little bit low on lockdown, which is why the odd one needs to be so strong in this game. And as well, TSM actually got away with a low control composition in one of their games this weekend against CLG, and Wild Turtle was actually on Twitch. But he had a much better Twitch game that time. He was farming substantially better, and COG wasn't really picking on him the way Cloud9 is. The one thing we can say about Cloud9 is they always have the ability to choose what they're going to do. So they play an objective-based game. So they always bring good turret pushers, good turret divers, and good turret defenders, importantly enough. As well as, since everyone brings so much crowd control, if they want to pick on someone, they can.
Just about 8 minutes ago, that tower score said 1-0. Cloud9 has now found 4, while TSM racked up 1 more for themselves. I don't see the Dragon coming up quite soon here. 21 minutes into the game. The kills are coming very slow, and Cloud9 actually still trying to get the momentum push after each one of those kills. And the thing that allows that, they're keeping Balls and Sneaky together quite a bit in these compositions with Zyra. And if it's not Balls, it's going to be Meteos with that composition.
Exactly. They like to keep Rumble with people who can keep him in the Equalizer. They recognize just how much damage the Equalizer does, especially if you keep someone in it. It basically just kills a person. So Cloud9 now grouping up once again. Meteos is actually being used as a split push threat. Still just going full tank. He's almost all in on that, knowing that right now Reginald's not strong enough to kill him. As a jungler, you don't see someone being top CS in their team very often, but that's what Meteos has accomplished this game.
Right now, Dyra's sitting on 7,000 gold. Meteos alone, 8,300 at 4-0-3. Definitely becoming the tank that his team needs, because what we saw last time, this composition run with Nocturne on the odd one, was them needing a tank as well, and they couldn't get there. But Meteos may be able to do that. Good pressure in the bottom lane, given harass. But it's not going to be enough to take down Reginald. He may be able to come back with a bit here. He has 1,400 gold in his pocket, so he may start to be able to make an impact now.
Yeah, Cloud9 is extending their advantage to about 5,000 here. But just based on how much farm is being channeled into Meteos and how Nocturne actually has somewhat mediocre hyper late game scaling,
right,
I give Cloud9 about another 15 minutes to win this game, which by their standards is all right. But just with the way they're distributing their gold, Meteos not having that much. If they don't finish by that point, Wild Turtle's going to catch up, Darius will get strong, and Reginald will be able to kill him.
And it doesn't seem like TSM is panicking in any way either. Sure, they're down a bit, 5K gold. That's not going to mean as much as time goes on if they can keep the same deficit. But as of right now, they still seem pretty composed in this matchup, and everybody still seems to be communicating.
Yeah, and you can see Cloud9, as always, they're trying to create action right now. The Nocturne ultimate was used really just to get some lane control and intimidate Reginald away from split pushing, which as you can see now, Reginald is just sitting at that middle turret, almost waiting for a dive. The Nocturne ultimate is also almost back up. I expect Cloud9 to push off that bottom wave and then come back to either sieging the mid lane or working around the Baron area, because at 23 minutes they've stagnated a little bit here and need to find ways to extend this lead before the clock kind of runs out on their composition.
6 wards on the map for Cloud9, the one in that top bush near Baron coming in for TSM. So they are partying with 5 in mid, keeping each other safe. Reginald is actually playing this one quite dangerous right now, maybe actually trying to draw them off of mid, knowing that Kennen is in the bottom lane.
Yeah, this could actually be a pretty good aggressive move by High if he decides to fight Reginald. I don't know if Reginald's actually strong enough to deal with him in a 1v1 situation. Or sorry, Darius.
Right.
I'm so used to seeing Reginald on Karthus.
I already said it once earlier.
I've said it like 5 times at this point. Jad doesn't even know he's playing Karthus right now. It's because he's in the mid lane spot and he's Darius. It's confusing.
11-6 here. The score staying steady. Like we said, it's not a huge amount of kills. It's the 1 kill, and then the team respects it enough that a turret taken after that. TSM hasn't been able to find the exact same thing, but they are keeping that in their eyes, something that they can still achieve. You saw the odd one being a little bit of an aggressor as they were chasing down mid. Reginald finds the top lane to be more suitable for him as well, and I think that would be the better idea. Dragon in 30 seconds here. He is going to start heading down as he got a good push, so High is going to be in the top lane. They could really start to structure this a few steps ahead.
What's been happening for the last 5 minutes or so has been great for TSM.
Right.
They're stalling the game, and the lead for Cloud9 is not getting any greater. In fact, it seems like Cloud9 is a little bit lost as to what to do. High has no...
It's still going to hit. That's still going to hit, but he's not able to add the damage on, and that's one thing if you're a Kennen player. People will look for you to use that E, and then they try to kill you.
But the immediate Zhonya's meant there was no Deathmark follow-up damage, so there's nothing for it to amplify. Now they know that the Cannon ult is down as well as the Zed ult. 5v5 4-set Dragon here. I wonder if TSM's going to try to fight this. I feel like it's smarter for them to give it up, but we know TSM, they want to go for a fight.
High got down there so fast, he's already ready to participate. Going in, that's a beautiful equalizer. 3 members sitting in the 1, 2, and 3 points of it. Darius looking to go down in a pretty advantageous spot, but everybody's able to flash away from him. High gets hit up with the crescendo. Here comes the Requiem at the end of the Death Defile. Sneaky on the outside. 1, 2, 3. No, they're for Meteos coming in on the double kill.
A 5-4-1 when all is said is done for Cloud9. They were waiting around. They knew the fight would come, and TSM decided to go in on them. Know that the Cannon ult was down, but he was around the side. The Dragon was only to get the fight. The equalizer hits pretty well, but not amazingly.
Right.
And I have to say, the Meteos dive through the back really split up TSM. He sucked 3 people towards him and still didn't go down. By the way, Sneaky then moved through Darius's dead Karthus corpse and just finished off the rest of the fight. That was another incredibly well-coordinated Dragon fight by Cloud9. And of course, since it was an ace for 1, they have enough savvy to take the Baron.
26-minute Baron coming in for Cloud9 in Game 2. A heavy-handed amount of kills going into the favor of Cloud9. They're now 16-7 on the scoreboard and an 8.5 thousand gold lead.
And luckily enough, all their ultimates are coming back up pretty soon. So they're going to take that huge amount of gold they just got. You can see another blue elixir on High. You can see 10,200 gold on Meteos. That is nearly 2,000 higher than Darius, who is the highest farm on TSM. Meteos is a carry jungler, but he's doing the tank carry right now. The Dragon is down. Cloud9 doesn't care about it right now. They're looking to make a big move on this next push. As long as Cloud9 can get all of their side lanes pushing at once, so there's no fear of a strong split push, Meteos is going to be strong enough to tank up many turret shots. He's incredibly fed on that Nocturne right now. They're going to look to do a turret dive, because even though they still have that 7,000 gold lead, if Cloud9 doesn't push the tempo, they would lose this game.
he said, they only have a certain amount of time before that Nocturne only does become a tank. Just a nuisance of utility for his team. Still going to put out some damage, but all they have to do is crowd control him down, and they have the damage to take it back out. If Reginald can get on too sneaky, as he did before, that's only going to be a barriered amount of damage from that death mark. There's a lot of options here. The Seraph's Embrace just finishing up for Dyrus. He is going to be more formidable in these fights and last a little bit longer. His positioning on the Defile has been walked out of quite easy by Cloud9, but those are things Cloud9 continues to remember. Those little nuances in the fight they have to remember going in with those windows open.
And now they're looking to come around the back. There's not too much space in between these turrets, but they got a little bit of damage down onto Dyrus already. You can tell they're going to try to come in from all angles here. Meteos could come from one side, High could come from the other. Lemonation is denying TSM vision. Cloud9 wants a clean engagement here, and it's looking like TSM is scared enough that they might just give up that outer turret.
Wild Turtle with the Infinity Edge Zeal, looking to go for that static shiv. He will be able to put out some good damage with his spray and pray right now with that Infinity Edge up.
It's a very big moment in the game here. Cloud9 can get a dive fight, they might win.
Going at a Turtle on the backside, the Chain of Corruption misses.
They missed a lot of spells.
Oh my gosh, Turtle gets absolutely blown up. High makes it to the back line. That is the flash cannon play that he loves to go for. The odd one goes down as well. It was so chaotic. Can't even see all the Cloud9 members, but they're walking out just without a sneaky.
Reginald pulled off the one good play. He obliterated Sneaky 1v1, but then the rest of Cloud9 just crushed TSM 4 for 1. They're tanking up the turret without minions. They don't care. They're going for that inhibitor. They made the dive and the Baron count.
Amazing amount of power that Cloud9 is showing right now. TSM, however, not giving up hope on this one. We've seen what one inhibitor is, and it does not mean the game yet, but it is grim at 11,000 gold. Just under that here for Cloud9. Not one to ever let up on a lead.
Yeah, usually one inhibitor for Cloud9 means another's coming shortly, but let's take a look at this fight. Equalizer and the Varus ultimate didn't land. Reginald basically just killed Sneaky on his own, but that's all he could do. High got a good ultimate off. They pick on Wild Turtle, they finish him off, and most importantly, Lemon Nation wasn't in protect position because he can't really protect against his Ed. He was in attack position, and that's one of the big reasons they got the 4 kills.
Even more, a Frozen Heart looking to be coming into the hands of Meteos here as he gets himself even bigger. The odd one has got the Locket of the Iron Solari down to mitigate some of this damage, especially that Kennen ulti coming in. All the area of effect that they have could be mitigated by a bit. High going on. He has that Zanya's. Zanya's is actually down. It's just about to come up. That's less than 0.1 seconds. Actually keeping him alive for that. Dodges out on the last attack. Goes in for the kill. And he actually gets it. Here it comes the Locket of the Iron Solari. Doesn't save many. It's going to be Dyrus picking up one. Coming in as Meteos as well. But that was a shutdown for Dyrus.
Yeah, a 3 for 2 fight once again. Odd one going in for more.
Odd one comes up big. The General is calling the command shots right now. And it looks like he may be able to get Meteos in a pretty sour spot. But he also goes down himself.
And how many turret shots is Meteos willing to take? That's why that dive could go on for so long. It turns the trade into a 4 for 2 and will most likely grant Cloud9 another turret if X Special decides to not defend 1v3 with
all these engagements. That looked like it was a kill. This looked like it was a kill, but Cloud9 is microing themselves in and out to accept and take the damage so well that they're able to come up with kills like that constantly.
Yeah, and this was High not quite having his Zanyas and Reginald getting the jump on him. It's on TSM to kind of make a play right now since they know Cloud9 was going to make that push into a dive. Then Sneaky actually gets caught out a little bit as well. Amongst all the chaos, he's right in on Dyrus and takes a whole bunch of damage. He ends up going down to Dyrus and the Requiem, but the rest of Cloud9, specifically Meteos, just sees Twitch and kills him. Balls and everyone just run at him, and that's one of the big reasons Cloud9 came out so far ahead in that fight.
We have to remember, Cloud9 also was pretty barrened up for that one. A few of them no, but a lot of them ticking through with that extra buff, so we'll see. Objective free on the map, as you can see the timers in the top left, so all the teams now to regroup. Cloud9 not trying to let that happen for TSM, and they will continue to pound on that front door.
And Cloud9's assault is just relentless. The Oracles again is on Lemon Nation. They have the Reverie if they want to engage. They have multiple people who can be sufficient turret divers. Meteos almost has a Frozen Heart on top of all of his other tank items. They might look to go straight away. High has easy access to the base through the down middle inhibitor. It means if TSM wants to defend this one, they have to account for High on the flank. Cloud9's gonna look to get some stuff with this next wave.
Slowly getting attacks on the turret. I don't think TSM can do too much. A good wall
High's just pushing
might
them off.
allow this engagement. High has entrance right to the back line.
There
That
they
is
go.
not good for Wild Turtle. Wild Turtle gets taken down immediately. How you engage a fight with that guy inside your base already? TSM getting taken out. It didn't even look like theirs to begin with.
And this is Cloud9 playing fast. Once again, a 5-4-0. Yep, there goes the Blob Blitz. 29 kills in 33 minutes, looking to take game 2.
Cloud9 plays with the utmost confidence. You could see High standing there multiple seconds for TSM to reorganize. They could have lost that inhibitor, but they knew they had to do something to stop Cloud9, but almost looks impossible.
Another low 30-minute victory for Cloud9. A couple Cloud9 fans giving the standing O. They're up 2-0 on TSM now. They need to win one of the next 3 to guarantee their 5 in the World Championships. Things are looking great for Cloud9 right now. They are playing fast and well.
Cloud9 has always been a team to come out and have fun. Team Solo Mid has also been in losing positions and came back. They are not a team to give up either. We've seen them win the spring split. They have a chance here to win the summer split, and they are definitely, I think, not by themselves right now, but thinking in their own heads about their play, because they're not discussing things.
Not too much. You could see Reginald, that was a dangerous look for him to have if you're a TSM fan right now, because we know when things are going well for TSM, they're going great. Everyone's happy and hugging, but Reginald actually left that game before it was dead. And we don't want to read too much into it because obviously we weren't in there, but that could very well mean some difficult times for TSM. When they turn on themselves, it takes them a while to work through those issues. They don't have a while. They got to play next game, and they got to win 3 in a row.
You know, we're going to go ahead and send it right over to Kobe and Freak to chat for a breakdown of the biggest plays from Cloud9's aggressive Game 2 win.
Thank you very much, Riv. And that was a pretty incredible game by Cloud9. Now, the first game was all about High. He got going and was pretty crazy on Ken. And this game, all about Meteos.
Jungler class.
Yeah. Jungler class. Kobe, as a Diamond 1 jungler yourself, take us through jungle school.
So this was really Meteos making a very good early jungle plan and sticking to it. He was going to camp the top lane there, and he made it apparent very early with that 3 versus 1 tower dive, and then immediately returning to that lane after the role swap. So then Balls was up there, and they got another kill onto Dyrus. That plan gave up a dragon to TSM, but still, it kept down the one they wanted to keep down, Dyrus. He didn't get to that very super strong Karthus for the area of effect in the later game.
And also you saw the entire team of Cloud9 actually participating in fights. While TSM had some of the extra globals, they had that card that's in the top lane to help participate in fights. In one example, Balls actually walks across the map to help a gank in progress, and it's actually our first clip of the teamwork of Cloud9.
Yeah. So this is a clip. Let's bring up the first clip here. This is the rotation of Cloud9. This is what everyone talks about, how their movements are so good and so well-timed. This is a pick here for Cloud9. They get Reginald, and it looks like, TSM have a good answer. Odd One's coming behind. They're going to be able to trade that back at least. Let's roll the clip here, and we'll see that that's not the case. Here goes Cloud9. Yes, they get the initiate. Reginald turns around, goes aggressive, fights till he goes down, and gets High low enough that the Odd One can come in, even with the added Requiem damage. Okay, we've got this one. But look at the mini-map. Balls immediately started roaming down since the beginning of that fight started, and he arrives just in time. There was no call from the top lane, no Mia. Balls just ran straight down to that mid. He backed up his teammates, and they got another kill. That's just the perfect example of Cloud9's movements being very precise and very well-timed.
Hey, there were 2 things I actually liked about that clip that I kind of wanted to point out. So number 1 was when that clip started, when it was paused, fully in the top lane. Like, it wasn't like he was waiting in the brush or anything. He was like in the lane, laning. And the other thing was that Cloud9 players and a lot of the top players are pushing all the time. They're always aggressing, killing off the minion waves and pushing to the turret. And in that case, that was Balls who would actually finish pushing a minion wave into Dyrus' turret and was actually freed up. A lot of the times when you see, for example, Shen's who's stand united out, if the lane's not pushed, you counterattack, right? When like Shen ults in for a dragon or something, they kill the top lane turret, and they trade. There's no trade. Karthus doesn't kill turrets very fast when he doesn't have any items, and the wave was already pushed to the turret, and those two things combined did a lot for Cloud9.
So there's some things that you get. When Cloud9 shoves every single lane, this affords them vision of their enemies. It also affords them a lot of extra turret pressure that forces their enemies, or it doesn't force them, but it encourages them to start ill-timed fights when they actually don't have the advantage. And that is our second clip. Let's bring up the second clip here. This is at a turret where Cloud9 have just pushed up to it, and they've gotten so much damage on it already that the odd one wants to defend this turret. He starts the fight off before Wild Turtle's there. And so they end up using both the odd one's CC and Xpecial's crowd control, that crescendo, before they actually have damage to deal while they're stunned. So let's roll this clip through, and we'll see in their desperation to save this turret, they use everything they have, both ultimates, before Wild Turtle pops out. And then Cloud9 have everything still. They burst everything down onto Wild Turtle when he shows up. Lemonation even had the exhaust ready. There was no chance for TSM in that fight.
And there you see it, the team fighting mechanics. You actually saw them even get layered properly. For example, the initiation came in, and out came the Stranglethorns, the disengage tool to get rid of the team. And then, when the Slicing Maelstrom came through, still didn't use Grasping Roots. Waited until, okay, Wild Turtle's dead. Xpecial's about to be unstunned. Now I'll root you in place, ensure you can't escape. And, you know, the trust in each other to use their abilities at the right times, like, that's really impressive as well. And it's one of the things that had kept Cloud9 at the top of the standings was their team fight prowess.
Yeah, and then from that moment on, it was really Meteo's story once again. It was just this super tank Nocturne. He didn't buy a single offensive item. He was going to be the point man for his team because he likes making the plays, and the way to start off all those plays is to be super tanky. He can start with his paranoia. He can get to wherever he wants. There was nothing for TSM really to answer that.
So incredibly well played by Cloud9. TSM now has to win 3 games straight to get themselves into that first place spot, to get the grand prize there, and of course get the bye into the World Championships. But guys, we have more games. We've got to take a short break, but when you return, Cloud9's going to look to win their 3rd game in a row against TSM and secure that Summer Split title. Plus, Cloud9's manager Jack Etienne will join me to talk about his team's impressive performance on the lounge. The 2013 North American LCS Regional Playoffs live from PAX Prime. We'll be right back, so stick around. welcome back to the show. David Frictierli here, joined by Jack Etienne, the manager of Cloud9. Now, to get through some history real quick, last split you were managing Team Solo Mid, and now you're here for Cloud9. What has brought you over to C9?
It was an amazing opportunity that I saw. I really didn't think I was actually going to take that opportunity at first, but after speaking about it with Reggie, he actually let me go to, he said, you know, this is a fantastic opportunity, you should take it, run with it, and I did, and I'm really glad I did.
That's awesome to hear. So what do you do for Cloud9 as a manager?
Essentially, I make sure that Hai is our team captain. He takes care of all of the team play, scheduling, you know, what they're going to do. I make sure he has the tools available at his disposal to use. So I'll make sure that, you know, he wants an analyst, I'll make sure that analyst is there, so Alex is helping him out. But he does all the actual work of the actual team.
So can you sort of explain some more of these thought processes? Basically, I guess you're not directly involved with the gameplay, but do you have any insights into how Hai runs the team?
I'm just there to support him. He makes all the judgment calls for the team.
Okay, so then what basically got you then into gaming to you know, support these teams and manage and make sure people have the tools available to be pro gamers?
A lot of that history comes from my relationship with Solomid. Initially, I was there to help Reggie support his site, make sure that he was getting the top value and the top sponsors for his team. It morphed into actually a general manager position. We really worked well together as a team, and that's where I ended up here.
So then talking about, you know, acquiring sponsors and getting support to a team, TSM has been around since the beta of League of Legends. They've been around for years. And you can, of course, hear the crowd. They've got a long-standing crowd, sort of fan base behind them. Cloud9 is a much newer team with sort of less fans. How do you kind of go about supporting a team with less to sort of stand on?
Yeah. Coming into this, we knew that like there is that sixth man. We all knew that we're going to be hearing through our microphones like the TSM, TSM, TSM chant, which I, you know, used to actually depend on and love when I was a TSM GM. So it's a little tough coming into these events no longer having that. But I do see some Cloud9 fans. I hear them, and I love the support. As we continue to you know, to have success, I'm sure that the fans will be loyal to us.
That's great to hear. So the final question for you then, Jack, what is next for Cloud9? You're poised to take to take the first place, take a quarterfinal bye. What's Cloud9's future now?
Well, we still need to focus on these up to 3 games that we have here, and that's our #1 focus. And then as soon as we figure out the outcome of that, we're going to be getting ready for Worlds. And I'm so excited that we can actually say that yes, we are going to Worlds.
That's awesome to hear, Jack. Thank you very much for your time. Congratulations so far on your top 2 finish and your 2-0 start in the Grand Finals. We got to figure out what's going to happen in the rest of those Grand Finals. Those 2-0 start for Cloud9. To take us through Game 3, we're going to send it back over to Jat and Riv.
Thank you very much, Freak, and let's get to it, Summoners. Game 3 between Cloud9 and Team Solo Mid. With one more win, Meteos and crew will take the North American Regional Playoff title and earn a bye in the World Championship. And after 2 dominating performances, Cloud9 has to be feeling pretty good heading into Game 3.
Yeah, Cloud9 has been unstoppable so far in their 2 games against TSM. They've capitalized on their teamfight wins to then just take out objectives. Also, Meteos has just been unkillable. He hunted down members of TSM with his tanky carry Nocturne jungle, 9-0-13. And after 2 great days at PAX, TSM hasn't been able to get anything going today. One of the big reasons is Cloud9's just been focusing Wild Turtle, one gank after another. And after he looked good in the first 2 series against COG and Balkan, he is having a rough finals, 3 kills and 14 deaths.
Not the easiest thing to have to deal with, especially when everybody's looking up to you to be that carry. When you put Dyrus on a Karthus that's going to be building for that long game to be a nuisance, not get the kills. Reginald kept being faced with a Zanyas from High, so you look for that next carry. And that was taken down in the beginning of the game because Cloud9 does everything that 1 step ahead.
And I think this is the game where TSM changes things substantially.
Absolutely.
They've done the Karthus, Dyrus top lane 2 games in a row, and while he's done well individually, the whole team really just hasn't worked well around it. I'd say TSM has been dictating a little bit too much. They're like the young gunslingers, you know? They're shooting faster than TSM. They're just kind of beating him to the punch. TSM would hit him if they had the time. But Cloud9's just getting it in there first. All
right, we're going to have to see what they can do to get in first pick on this one. TSM back on purple, Cloud9 on blue to start this match off 2-0. This is what they would call game point for Cloud9.
Yeah.
TSM looking to stay alive in the final series.
And Vladimir Ari bans, tried and true, they worked for Cloud9 in the first 2 games. They clearly identified that as TSM's best strategy. And I can't really argue with them taking Ari away from Reginald. As much as High may have been practicing Ari, they're not willing to first pick it because they like to first pick clearly the Elise and the other priority champions. So I like the banning strategy so far from Cloud9. Same 3 bans that they had last game, no reason to go away from it.
Very interesting from TSM that they would actually ban out the composition. You know, it still works well together. That's an undefeated alone Zyra and Ashe for elimination and Sneaky. So even breaking them up doesn't do much, but to still ban out both, is it going to be a Rumble focus? Because that has played.
Well, here's the big thing right
or
now.
what?
Is because the Zyra ban is required since they've just been running Varus Zyra. And it's actually had very similar effectiveness. So they had to get rid of both of them.
Oh.
Might as well get the third. They're trying to eliminate the utility that Cloud9 brings from that AD carry position. That's just what they're doing.
The Super Week showed us that Cloud9 loved Zach and loved Zed. High on Zed is something he is very, very familiar with, but the matchup is also there for Reginald, and the odd one actually gets his Elise.
Yeah. That's pretty big for TSM, but now it's just on Cloud9. I think they're going to shore up their initiation because that is the most important part of their game. The games they've lost this split have been the games where they haven't shored up their initiation. So I'd expect maybe even though Rumble's available, there's a chance they're going to go for Kennen in the top lane just so they can have that combo. And the Zac is there for Meteos if he wants it, knowing that the Elise has been picked on the other side.
So different from game to game, what's put into respect, what they really consider. You know, Mega Zero didn't get his Rumble banned, and he was being like, I'm confused.
Yeah,
here, these guys are taking it into true consideration. And I think some people are still a little bit confused.
Yeah, well, this one, the Twitch pick is awesome because Sneaky's almost going to say, all right, we shut down Wild Turtle's Twitch. Now it's my turn to play Twitch. Let's see if TSM can put a similar shutdown dive-type game plan together to just beast down Sneaky's Twitch. I'm seeing TSM as defaulting back to a lot of their tried and true strategies here, and I like that decision by them.
That may just as well be the Kennen. They're taking into consideration the Vayne pick comes out. We saw that before. Could it be 3 games in a row that Cloud9 is looking for similar champions in Select? And it's actually going to be, and this is an interesting one. You talked about Meteos' aggressive Nocturne going huge, but his tank Nocturne just went huge.
Yeah, and this is actually a lower control Cloud9 comp, but they still have the same target prioritization. Because they have Zed and Nocturne, they basically get to click on a guy and kill him, and that's usually going to be Wild Turtle, as it has been this series. Nocturne and Zed can buddy up with the Rumble ultimate still reaching, and they have the same initiation potential, just substantially less lockdown. And for TSM, they would be open for a Karthus here if they wanted to really go close to their old Season 2 strategy. What's Reggie going to pull out here? Because he hasn't necessarily performed great in the first few games.
I don't know. You actually see Dyrus being the one talking with Xpecial right now. Reginald was kind of on the end there, so he is maybe not taking the role, but just having input in whatever that situation was. Yeah.
Fizz.
All right.
We saw High pull it out. It's the new hotness in mid lane, it seems, as everyone wants to play the fish. Against Zed, that is going to be a very tricky, bouncy matchup between those two. Fizz can dodge out of the death mark very well. That's last pick. That's the right spot to pick Fizz. And I haven't seen Reginald's Fizz. This is exciting.
This is absolutely going to be exciting. They are pulling out all the stops, and this is exactly what we've needed and wanted and would love to see teams do. We saw Cloud9 doing a bit of it. He pulled out the Fizz, then they pulled out the Vladimir, and now TSM is taking things into their hand, and they're going to put Fizz on their side. But that's a known matchup for High in a lot of recent practice.
Well, he said he's played about 20 games on Fizz. He hadn't played the Diana matchup. I'd imagine he's played against Zed a couple times because he's a much more popular champion. This time, High, he knows the Zed matchups against almost everyone because that was... Even though he doesn't lock down on champions very often, Zed is his played champion, and that's what they really excel on. Cloud9 is still confident and comfortable with this composition.
So as we look at that Reginald pick, and we are kind of like, whoa, this is crazy, let's actually think about that. It's still what Reginald likes to do in all aspects. You can be aggressive by yourself, you can be an assassinator, and you can do things and escape.
Exactly. He will be trying to make as many plays as possible here. The thing I worry about for TSM and the thing they have to not let happen to them is the lane shoving that has been crushing them. Shen doesn't push waves quickly, Vayne doesn't push waves quickly, and neither does Fizz. So it doesn't matter kind of how well they have roam potential if they never have the opportunity to roam. Because everyone on Cloud9 can push the waves, and they're going to try and stop TSM from getting out of their lanes.
Well, TSM is going to try and stop Cloud9 to keep their hopes alive for that first place spot in the NALCS Summer Split. The finals could end right now if Cloud9 comes out on top of this game. Team Solo Mid in the third bout of the best-of-5 series, looking to stay alive.
This Fizz pick is a gambit by Reginald. He was not looking very happy after those first 2 games. He left game 2 early, did not seem to be participating heavily in the post-game discussion. And based on discussions with these guys, Dyer is always talking about how much Reggie is TSM and how much presence he has. If he's not talking, it's not good for TSM.
Pushing down towards high. Nothing's really going to be done here except for the knowledge being given. The wards to be placed out. Tri-brush up at the top, as well as the Wraith ward going out for Cloud9 to keep a little bit of aggression towards the top side of the jungle.
All right, so once again, we see them trying to ward each other's red buffs, but they're getting a little closer than they have in the last few games. That ward actually got killed down because TSM was ready to attack it. Let's place another one. Lemon Nation has plenty.
Special got it. That's big.
That's a lot of money for him. Who says supports can't last hit?
Looks like they may actually go top lane with this one. They're going to head back. Sneaky and Lemon Nation looks like they have already made their choice. This will really be the first one. They don't go for those deep wards and try to figure out everything that's going on in the matchup. And it is going to be the swapped lanes. The 2v1s will come into play. Something pretty much to be expected here with the top laners that we're seeing in Shen and Rumble.
Yeah. The Twitch lane with Thresh is very potent for Cloud9, and I feel like Cloud9 actually excels in 2v1 scenarios just because they played so many games with that setup. But once again, Meteos is trying this slightly risky jungle start, starting at red buff and then going to blue. If TSM wants to overwhelm him at his blue buff, they absolutely can. Be interesting to see what Wild Turtleneck Special do next. See, Balls is pulling back to help him, and High has actually been keeping Reggie at base, so Reggie can't roam over. It's good protection by Cloud9. Normally, it's actually very dangerous for him to go to his blue buff, but the way Cloud9 played this, they actually made it quite safe.
Well, knowing that the first 2 waves really aren't going to be his, he comes back, plays it safe. I think he even soaks up a little bit of experience for himself on that one, because it's not going to hurt going into level 2, or rather level 3 for Meteos.
Yeah, and High popped his red elixir almost immediately in that mid lane, because he's trying to punish Reginald as much as possible early on Fizz. He knows the weaknesses of Fizz early on in that matchup.
He has the flask. He's going to be able to pretty much, not pretty much, but trade consistently with the energy that comes in with Zed on High. And we're going to see. I don't think they're going to be going for each other too soon. There's no pressure from the junglers here. The 2v1s are going to mean that's where the experience is going to be soaked up on the turret pressure. So Reginald and High may be duking it out by themselves for quite some time in the mid.
Yeah, this could be another one of these fairly long laning phases. It doesn't look like we're going to see an early sneak tower dive by Meteos this time, which was able to shut down Darius a little bit early. Diving a Doran Shield Shen is much more difficult than diving a squishy little Karthus.
Twice in a row?
Twice in a row.
Yeah.
So it means Meteos is playing a little bit more conservatively and maybe actually going to share a little bit of farm with Balls.
You can see how that top lane works. Balls now at 330, actually just hitting level 2. So knowing everything's all right still at level 1. And here we go with the junglers. It's not going to be the odd one just yet, but Meteos will make his presence known in the top lane.
No, Odd One has been struggling with this jungle matchup against Meteos. It's been a difficult balance for him about keeping his laid-back jungle style where he tries to counter-gank and then keeping pace with Meteos. Because Meteos doesn't actually offer very many opportunities to be counter-ganked because as successful as he is, he doesn't gank that often. So it's hard to set up the right counter-gank.
No real gold lead that would make a difference at this point. A pink ward still being held by Xpecial in the bottom lane. Or I'd say in the top lane, rather, which means they are going to try for something at some point with that. Ward's just going to be held.
Yeah, and it's really this mid lane matchup that High is destroying right now. 31 farm to 10 of Reginald. Reginald went back right as he could get his Doran's Ring, but ended up losing a cannon minion to that turret as well. So that lane early on, High is almost already, actually more so, made up for the 350 gold that he spent on that red elixir. He's up 1,400 to 1050 in gold.
Slow play here. Meteos coming into the bottom lane, and it is going to be the Oddone trying to get the gank in as well. The repel out to the river, but he's forced to flash, and Sneaky follows in pursuit with the flash as well. The true damage is ticking, but so is the health potion. Meteos trying to throw down the Dustbringer. He's just in range for first blood.
Pinging level 5, and then Meteos gives Odd1 the taste of his own medicine, coming in for a perfect counter gank, outnumbering the Odd1, and now he's looking to explode this game again on Nocturne.
That was an absolutely great read by Meteos, and again, it happened steps before. By not seeing that the Odd One was instantly at bottom when he was top, he knew the Odd One would eventually be there, and played that one perfectly.
This means a lot of trouble for Dyrus as well, because he hasn't necessarily been doing amazingly in that 1v2 lane. 14 farm when you compare to Balls, who's sitting around 19 or 20. And hello, Meteos, weren't you just bottom lane? How are you up there for even more farm?
He knows he did his job. He gave that little bit of the snowball to the lane with the assists. They're going to be able to use that, not just yet, but with the Odd One coming back, he definitely wants to get a bit of that money back. Not in repel range. Looks like he's going to be safely getting out of that one with just a bit of harass.
High also just hit level 6 in mid lane. Reginald's going to have to be careful what he does with his Playful Trickster, because if he uses his E to farm, High would go all in for a kill. This actually nerfs Reginald a bit in mid lane, even though he's been coming back very strongly in that farm.
There's a little bit of an extended lane here for High. I think he wants to go back now. His inventory has been completely empty for like 3 or 4 minutes.
So that's why Reginald's been coming back. He gets the Shark before High goes for the Death Mark and just pushes him straight back. High just goes for 3 long swords. He wants to fight.
He absolutely wants to fight. Probably turn one of those into a Hex Drinker, one into a Brutalizer he goes to, or starting that Bilgewater Cutlass as well.
There's a lot of
little items he's got to start piecing together. The triple dip, the first one we've seen, possibly. 7.
Nocturne ganks. The fact that the jungler hit level 6 before the solo lane Shen means a lot, and it's not good for team.
High is already rotating. Balls again, like you said, always on the move. That speed start of Scrap Shield definitely helps him make that movement.
Yeah, TSM might still try to 5v5 this inside the Dragon Pit. This is dangerous, but they're fighting Dragon versus an Equalizer.
They go right after. There is the Stand United coming in. No! The Stand United from Dyrus not going to come in on this fight. They may have said do not do that. It looks like they're going to be able to get this one out for themselves.
TSM for O and the Dragon. The Odd One went in for the Dragon steal, but Dyrus could not make it in with his Stand United shield. That is a huge swing again for Cloud9, and TSM puts themselves in an even bigger hole, trying to contest that Dragon against a Rumble, but then the Rumble didn't even need to use Equalizer.
Nope.
At least Dyrus gets the turret back. That's something.
And this goes into the communication they were talking about before. Dyrus talking about his Shen play, knowing when to ult and knowing not when to, because they did get themselves a turret off of that as well for him stopping.
Yeah, that is not the crisp TSM play we saw against Falcon. That was a very indecisive jungle play. It looked like the Odd One was waiting for someone to make a call and then said, we got to do something, I'm going to try to steal. And that's one of those almost solo queue-esque jungle plays where you're going in not with your whole team, couple people end up dying, and then you sloppily disengage. Not the type of game TSM needs to be playing, and it's not the type of game that they're capable of.
Taking a look once again at these inventories. Dyrus picking up a Negatron Cloak to start off in this matchup. Pretty smart by him as he's going against Balls. We saw what happened in previous games with the pickup of the Chain Vest, and then that didn't go as planned. 72 to 71 between those 80 carries and the sneaky pickup of the Dorans over the quick BF sword of Wild Turtle.
Yeah, so at least Wild Turtle was able to farm up a large chunk of gold and pick up that BF, that might be the spot where TSM pulls back a little bit in this game. Wild Turtle's had such a rough series because Cloud9 has been targeting him again and again. And I feel like Cloud9 is going to be trying to do that once again with the Zed and the Nocturne picks. It's really going to be a lot on Dyrus to try and protect Wild Turtle with Stand United at the right time. But Wild Turtle, at least right now, is farming safely, and he hasn't died yet.
Still quite a window for that Stand United to come back up, and he is at pretty much that taster's choice farm spot of the lane. You're 75% towards yourself. It's not just yet in turret range, except for that one minion making me a liar. But it's all right. He'll grab the rest of them.
It's a very safe spot for him to farm, especially with the giant amount of magic resist Dyrus picked up with that early Negatron cloak. Balls is really just trading farm with him right now.
Tried to pick up the Zork boots to say no. Gonna negate that. Oh, chum the waters, but he goes back in with a death mark. Both of them trading as Meteos just on the backside, but where's the odd one? Always on the backside of Reginald, but Reginald had dove too far forward for the odd one to actually give him any help.
Yeah, and there's the roam by Balls as well. They might be looking for more, or maybe just a turret.
That looked like the equalizer start, which they would have caught up on, but it looks like they will be able to take down this turret. A very fast move. Balls only pushed that lane 75% and then just left it.
In order for TSM to exceed in the past, it's been all about Reginald and the Odd One buddying up. Odd One is always behind Reginald, and they always work together to shut down the other mid laner. High and Meteos are doing the same thing to him right now, and Odd One and Reginald are a combined 0 for 4, whereas Meteos is potentially on path to take over this game again as Tank Nocturne.
The way these things happen, you have to consider that Cloud9's fights come in as, High saying something. I think Reginald is playing differently. He's going to aggressively. Meteos was already there. Balls was already coming down, and it didn't matter that Odd One was there. They're taking these situations perfectly. They're thinking of them, and they are not incorrect.
Cloud9 is just reading every move of TSM right now before it happens. And it's almost getting better as the series progresses. The first game looked rather close. The second game, TSM actually made a move and was up 2,000 gold, but then it swung even farther in Cloud9's favor. And this game, right from the very first move, it seemed like Cloud9 knows where TSM is going to be.
And it looks like High did fire out that Bilgewater Cutlass into his Hex Drinker to keep himself safe in that engage. Coming out with that on his last purchase. Reginald forced to farm next to that second tier turret in mid. Now they're even in turrets. Well, right now that gold lead is 3.6k in the lead coming in for C9.
And the Dragon's going to be up in under 2 minutes. Cloud9 hasn't even expended many of their ultimate cooldowns. They should have them all for that if they want to. Even Meteos picking up Spirit of the Ancient Golem before the Odd One is able to gain access to it. High now going back. Going to pick up a couple more goodies, mainly just prepare for that last fight. BF Sword was matched by Sneaky as well on Twitch, so he can outduel Wild Turtle now on this early game Twitch. And also importantly, Cloud9 has warded that middle lane where Reginald was pushed back, so they know if he goes to roam from behind his dead turret and what side he's going to be going for. That's one of the ways Cloud9 can see where TSM is going.
And to speak of those wards, continue. TSM is not putting down the Nocturne wards. They're putting down close wards for close ganks. Dyrus has one in his tri-brush. Both brushes are warded down in this bottom lane. We're looking with Sneaky. Meteos has the chance to pretty much gank from anywhere, and that fear is in the heart of TSM because they know he only ganks when it's going to count too.
Yeah, and here's the thing about why TSM doesn't have Nocturne wards, as we like to call the deep wards in the enemy jungle.
Yeah.
Is because their lanes are all pushed back to their turret. So they don't have access to actually place them within Cloud9's jungle. Everyone on Cloud9 has to be in on that in order to prevent those wards from coming through.
Great. Union coming in with the team right now for C9. Meteos picking up the red buff. This may mean they want to go for an engagement quite soon.
And Balls has already made his preemptive roam down
5
bottom.
seconds.
Dyrus is up near the top lane trying to push, but he actually can't trade a turret back this time. TSM might force themselves into a dragon fight here because they're thinking there's no other hope. We've seen TSM do this in the past. Cloud9 go!
They do not know who is in that dragon pit right now.
Right on the turtle!
Over the wall. Meteos back to the back line there. Special, a nice crescendo over the wall, shuts down onto one, but he is going to go down himself, looking for the kill still. It's all onto High. The focus from Balls and High in the middle of the fight. Who is going to be doing the damage? You see Wild Turtle trying to tumble on the outside. He's now in a 1v1 with Sneaky. Reginald coming back in for kills, but he goes down to the hands of Meteos, and they finally push them out of the jungle to figure out where the vision is, figure out where the focus is, but the turret's still a bit too healthy for the dive.
It's still a 3-for-1, and Cloud9 is turning back on the Dragon. They're having a pretty tough time with it, but it looks like they're going to get that. And that was just Cloud9 turning, because TSM poked their head into the Dragon, and Cloud9 decided to just rush in after them. Oh, look out.
This is pretty sneaky.
Look out.
There's one shot. Can he get the explosion range? Oh, it is not. That's not good. Dyer's coming down. This is bad news bears here.
Yeah, that is
like
an unfortunate place for Sneaky to be. Tries to pop the barrier to fight this one, but there is no backup coming for Sneaky right now. Maybe the turtle help him.
Oh, Vane tumble. Ah. Tried to get it. So that's a shutdown going for Dyrus onto Sneaky. It's only a 2-kill shutdown, so not a super amount of gold.
No, but let's take a look at this Dragon fight one more time, because Cloud9 just uses the Nocturnal, and they just go for Wild Turtle. Immediately, the Dyrus ultimate goes down on him. You see all the TSM members at the top of the screen. They couldn't really get in on the fight for a long period of time. Lemon Nation also had a really good shield over the wall that protected most of his team. It actually ended up getting him killed because Reginald jumped over, but the rest of Cloud9 could support him throughout. Sneaky never had any threat on him, and TSM couldn't find the right target because they were down a lot of gold before that fight, and they got initiated upon.
Dyrus close to finishing up a Sunfire Cape. It will hopefully take the pressure off some of these lanes that Cloud9 is pressuring, but them knowing they have the upper hand, doesn't look like it will happen anytime soon. Dyrus right now in the mid lane trying to farm up that Sunfire Cape. It's going to be the Sheen onto Reginald. He's double dipping in that too, trying to see all of these builds. He's trying to go for the Zanyas as well as that Lich Bane, and we kind of saw that High was back on Fizz. And he came back to do it well, but he already had that Zanyas completed when it happened, so there's a lot of things that aren't being put together in that puzzle for TSM right now.
Yeah, Reginald will need a lot of help if he wants to get going on this Fizz game. One benefit that High had when he played his Fizz game is the rest of his team did a lot of AoE damage, so he could kind of play cleanup. That is not the case right now for TSM. They have Hyper Carry and Turtle and a couple tanks in the odd one at Dyrus.
He goes down. Reginald is going to be taken up here. He tries to go back to the turret. A very nice Q in, doing the damage that he can, but a double kill coming in for Balls.
More kills and more power for Cloud9. They now have 4 people up here. Even though Dyrus is full health, he has to just get out of there.
We always see that Cloud9 moves power in numbers, and it looks like Dyrus rather, still going to have to go back. They will not stop on this pressure.
This is a Cloud9 trademark game right now. 9 kills to 2, taking everything they want, giving a little when it matters because they're going to get more in return.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very good way to put it. Continue the kill. Cloud9 moves on to take something else. Almost their motto when they come into these games, besides having fun. 28,000, 28.5 to 21.5. So pretty good gold lead here coming in for Cloud9. It's 3-2 in turrets, so the map vision really isn't swaying too much of a favor because it's not the two or all 3 outer, but that is a second tier in the top.
Yeah, they have the control up towards the Baron area, which is actually most important because that might be their next progression for taking control of this game. And after all of those pushes, Cloud9, everyone on their team had 1,000 or more gold, and they're just going back to buy the goodies right now. You can see Meteos is a full Aegis of the Legion up on the Odd Ones item build. A static ship has been completed for Sneaky. That's his favorite item. He always seems to build that over Phantom Dancer. He just loves getting that proc to catch the enemy off guard and start the fight stronger. It means Lemon Nation can pick up an Oracles and just continue to deny TSM vision, make it difficult or near impossible for TSM to re-engage on these fights. Right now, Cloud9 is just putting on the clamps for TSM, taking all their outer turrets and containing TSM to their base.
See, all the wards were cleared on the map or have worn out on the map for Cloud9, and that's what they're doing. Restructuring all these wards to the bottom. They want the second tier bottom turret too. They always fight around their currently placed wards.
They do not want to be snuck up on, and right now, TSM is trying a 2-man double lane split push going for the mid turret, but this is the worst team to try this against because Cloud9 is willing to dive immediately. They have Nocturne ult up. They have the Equalizer. They're going to be going for this inhibitor immediately.
They are right onto it. There goes the death mark. Odd1, I believe, catches that. Special force to run away. The crescendo goes out, and this is going to be a run back from Wild Turtle. The Shen comes in on Stand United. Dyra's here to help the team.
2v5.
They are under the turret. The tank is going on to Meteos right now. He is taking a few shots. The turret now goes on elimination. Should make it out alive as Cloud9 starts to disperse. TSM sets up the defense.
Everyone on TSM had to just defend because they knew Cloud9 was going to be going in, and it was just a mismatched, odd man fight for TSM. They never had the numbers, and despite the turret hitting Cloud9 and really being an extra member for TSM, didn't matter because Cloud9 had the jump on him. Take a look at this one more time. It's just a fairly clean initiation, didn't even get the Equalizer, but because the burst was so focused for Cloud9, they took out 2 members before the fight started. Reginald and Dyrus tried to use the turret as a protector for themselves, but it just wasn't enough. Turtle came back late as well, and then Cloud9 pulled back exactly when they needed to because they recognized the support for TSM has arrived. They gave nothing back.
And the gap is only getting bigger. We mentioned earlier that the Odd1 has not been having the best time against Meteos in this series. Right now, their gold compared sits at 7,200 to 4,200 gold.
Yeah, this is a best of 5 to decide who gets the bye. And in the first 3 games, this is probably the best of the 3 for Cloud9 because they've been absolutely wrecking TSM across the board. Every single person is crushing. And in prior games, sometimes they've been down a little bit more in farm. This game, High is up 60 on Reginald's Fizz because he knows that matchup. Balls is actually down a little bit, but he's got 4 kills to get it back for him. That's another Dragon taken for Cloud9. They're 10,000 gold up at 21 minutes. This is an incredibly dire situation for TSM as they are fearing a turret dive.
And just to show how much they want to continuously keep advantages, before we just saw Meteos place his pink ward, they came out with 3. They have Sneaky. They're trying to allow him to have advantageous entry into fight and have no problem during the fight. So they're trying to keep every advantage alive.
And we saw how they dove this turret the first time. All of TSM was not there, but the gold lead was also a little bit smaller. This is actually a fight, normally it's easy to call Cloud9 initiations because they're just always going to go.
Yep.
This is one they might wait on. I think it depends on if they catch a good opportunity. Maybe Lemon Nation is going to look for a flay and they actually decide to back away because they recognize TSM's actually there and there's easier objectives on the map for them to take.
So they have everything cleared on this side of the jungle. It looks like those last 2 pink wards will be held for Wild Turtle in the engagement. He is using that Vayne ultimate defensively in the past engagements. They need him to be using it offensively with Reginald. It's very close combat that he has to get himself into. And I guess the Vayne over the Caitlyn was the pick they wanted for this game.
Yeah, and he's actually went for the Infinity Edge on Vayne this time, which is a new thing. Kind of trying to change it up once again. It just means he needs the game to get even later to become impactful on Vayne. And that is not time TSM can buy. The first 2 games taught us anything. It's the Cloud9 knows how to finish games. If the split taught us anything, it's the Cloud9 wins games and finishes them quickly. Right now, I think the way Cloud9 goes and does that is they can actually start thinking about the Baron buff. TSM hasn't been out of their base in about 5 or 10 minutes. So even though Cloud9 already has an Oracles, they have no vision. And Reggie used his Playful Trickster, means he's vulnerable.
Ooh, there comes Stand United. It's down there. Should be able to. No, he doesn't even get it. Wow!
Going in for the kill before the shield goes through. He kills Reggie and then some, burning the Stand United. Who cares about Baron? They can just go for it.
Things like that will strike fear into your opponent, knowing that can happen even with the barrier, with the Stand United. That was an extra plus 600 or more HP for Reginald, and he still went down, and technically a 1v2.
Yep, 550 is that Shen shield at rank 2. Doesn't matter. Have Zed. Just kills him.
There we go. The turret's down to about 75. Quickly, 50. These guys are crushing down the turret right now. Meteos, again, going for the tank Nocturne build as before, but still able to just get in there and wreak havoc with his team. High taking away everything that TSM wants in their jungle.
And as I was saying before about the wards in the jungle, since TSM hasn't left their base, Cloud9 knows that TSM wouldn't have coverage there, so if they want to poke around the Baron area, and if they want to make a play, they could probably just go for it. They most likely get this uncontested if they go for a Baron, but they may not even need to. We're only 24 minutes in, Rib. This is actually a little bit reminiscent of Cloud9's second game against Dignitas, which placed them in this game, where Cloud9 just had total control of the game and at one point almost seemed to be toying with it.
Cloud9 continuously moving up mid, high in the bottom lane to split push out Reginald here. Reginald knows he cannot tango with that, so he's going to get back with the team and try and help this one out. Calling out on Meteos, I don't think he's definitely ulted this game, but he hasn't ulted that much. It's interesting to see that Cloud9 is using multiple ways of initiation to move around the map, not just that paranoia.
Yeah, a couple times he's just snuck into the right spot and then gotten a fear tether off. His positioning has been immaculate. And TSM maybe trying a bit of a last-ditch effort because they know Zed is there.
Oh dear.
But there's a disengage by Cloud9. And this is actually, since Cloud9 doesn't have too much lockdown, it's why they've been more hesitant to just straight up turret dive despite having a large lead. TSM trying to go all in on high, but they're exposing themselves.
Meteos flying in from the side. Wild Turtle so deep, he's practically in the end zone by himself. High takes him down. This could be it. Sneaky takes down Reginald. 3 have fallen for Team Solo Mid. A 4th goes down, and Dyrus is heading for the fountain, but so is Cloud9.
That was a demolishing of TSM's team. They decided to try to get a kill on high. They could not do it this entire game. Unkillable for the majority of Cloud9, and this looks like the buy for Cloud9.
This is going to be a tight one. They do have, no, that is so much damage on the turrets. They're going to be able to lock this down. Dyrus trying to do what he can with Shenton, but that cooldown may not be up in enough time to stop the damage. He's trying to do everything he can. 4 seconds on everyone. Those Nexus turrets are down, but Dyrus flexing those muscles.
Barely holds them off here. But, oh man, let's take another look at this one fight. Reginald does get the Shark onto high. And let's check this out. He ults as the Shark would try to eat him to not take damage. Then Wild Turtle decides to try and flash on him, but the Fear Tether stops Wild Turtle from finishing off high. He only needed one more hit. And by the end of that, if 2 people of TSM and a team that is already behind decide to go for that, it's just over.
And this could be big.
Last-ditch effort.
TSM trying to go for it. Cloud9 coming up on the backside. This is TSM's last chance to keep it in the NA regional.
There's only 3 people of Cloud9 here.
Final game. Cloud9 looking
they
to
might
take
get this
one in a best-of-5 series. Meteos goes in.
Doesn't get it.
Meteos does not get the Baron. Outward comes up big with the smite. Meteos also smited on that one too. So coming out of that, this is going to be a hectic fight. They are powered up. Team Solo Mid is going big. Lemon Nation able to come up. No, it was Sneaky Static Shiv. Lemon Nation on the run. Here comes High. He's only going to be able to zero out one person, but TSM now has the crowd behind him.
He's not going to get there. That was a 3 for 2 by TSM, and they got the Baron. If they could somehow get back in this game, it would be one of the biggest comebacks in history. But High gets caught, goes in.
This is big. He chooses to use it on on the
He's taking out 3.
1, 2. Lemon Nation is there. The taunt back. Dyrus wants Lemon. Will he be able to get the last hit? Gets away. No, Dyrus puts on the fate. It's going to be a back and forth fight, but like you said, High will come up with the kill.
One last swing, and oh no! Dyrus still being tanky. The fake comes back pretty quick.
Making moves. No vision there. That's Dyrus' ward. They are going to keep chasing this down, but here comes Meteos. Meteos on the paranoia. He is going to for sure lock this down. High comes up with the long coast-to-coast kill.
So what that means now is the Baron that TSM was able to rush is only money for them.
Yeah.
Everyone eventually died from that. So it was a nice effort by TSM, but if we look back, they're still down 11,000 gold. Let's take one more look at this. The equalizer wasn't up immediately, and the odd one outsmited Meteos. I feel like if Meteos gets that smite, the game is over. The Zhonya's was greatly timed by Reginald to at least delay, and at this point, everyone's just waiting for High to arrive. Sneaky pops out with almost no health, and Dyrus was saving his taunt for that moment. And at that point, it just became the chase for High.
Very good communication on the continued pursuit here with Lemon Nation on the backside. They don't have that vision.
This was a nice 1v3.
Why? And that's the reason they really wanted to go back in. Once they saw Lemon, it was bad news bears.
High has been able to dodge so many damage spells with his ultimate right now. He gets the detonate while the odd one is in the air, and then X Special was just nearby, so he got wrecked.
And that's not easy to do. Not every ultimate acts the same, triggers the same off the visual effect. So for him to continuously do that He is completely on top of his game right now in his mechanics. 29 minutes in, very Cloud9-esque to have an inhibitor down in the base of their opponent. 12,000, actually 11,000 is the gold lead as they come up on 239. But 9-2 in turrets means those two turrets are usually the Nexus turrets, but they're not. Those are already down.
This means a very vulnerable base for TSM. TSM was a couple seconds away from absolute defeat before they pulled off a couple big plays. Darius' double kill to a Baron sneak, but all that is done now. Cloud9's kind of regrouped, taking a deep breath. I think they were already celebrating a little bit before that one. Now they just have to win again.
High, once again, dodging that out. It does not affect him. Reginald gets hit up. The Stand United goes to Reggie because they know a lot of power can come from him. He still stays alive, but he goes down. Special has used the crescendo, has used the exhaust. Everything is defensive right now for TSM to get out.
They just gotta hit the Nexus.
With their eyes on the Nexus, their eyes on the summer split, completely undefeated in the series, 25-3 on the split.
Cloud9 does not drop a single game in the playoffs, and look at that. They are a team that works together and likes each other. That is the best team in North America.
You know, I asked one time, what really motivates you guys? And they said food. Jack always tells them they're going out to eat, and I think they're going to get a pretty damn good dinner after this one.
They better get a nice meal after that, because that was an incredibly impressive game. Even though Meteos died once in that game, that was his only death of this series. It was a very statement-like set for Cloud9. Every game was fast. This last one, 30 minutes.
Fantastic play, Jack.
Yeah, that's his old team. He's definitely got a lot of
commiserations to his old team, and there they are, Cloud9, coming out undoubtedly one of the best teams we have seen in North America.
And it's not just the five of them. You can see their analyst, Alex Penn, helps out so much with their strategy and picks and bans. Of course, their owner-manager, Jack, who helps them with all the other things.
Absolutely.
Really just there to support them.
It is a complete team effort. The beginning of this season, High and Meteos did not get along. High thought he knew better, but he actually lowered that thought to Meteos' knowledge, and these two have come together with Lemon Nation, Balls, Sneaky, Alex, and Jack to create such a great team.
Really just a record-setting season for them as well. It's only fitting. They set a record for wins in the LCS. Meteos gets the KDA record. Then he gets an astonishing KDA here in the finals. They don't drop a single game. If you extended their playoff record to the regular season, they would be 30-3.
Yeah.
They would have that over 90% win rate on the season, which is just absolutely unprecedented in the LCS.
And the mentality of strength, having fun, not really worrying about things is what they say led them to this victory.
Yeah, and it's teamwork as well. Like the way that they just go in for these fights, it's going to make Worlds very interesting, because I think a lot of people now are thinking how strong Cloud9 is. We saw TSM yesterday and how strong TSM looked against Vulcan. It was kind of the old TSM. And the way that Cloud9 just dominated them in this set just shows us how strong they really are as a team.
Being able to come out, picking different champions to show us as well, playing the Fizz, the Vladimir, as we said, going through the champion select, it prompted other teams to try these things. Reginald tried to pull out that Fizz, and although probably easily could play it, had some really good engagements on it, it was, again, Cloud9 that had it over-practiced and over-skilled.
It's so strange, because we thought maybe coming into these playoffs that Cloud9 would overcommit on certain champion combinations.
Exactly.
What would happen if the Zyra Ashe actually got banned away? Or what would happen if Balls wasn't able to get Rumble, High wasn't able to get Zed? And TSM tried a couple combinations. They banned out maybe one jungler from Meteos, but then he just pulled out Nocturne. Tanked Nocturne 2 games in a row and just dominated. The Zyra Ashe was down. Cloud9 didn't have their lockdown, but they were still able to take control of the map, dive any turret they wanted to, and just get the 3-0 on TSM.
You got to mention, you know, Meteos pulling out junglers he usually didn't play throughout the season. Balls getting Rumble 3 times in a row. A lot of people might tilt their head to that one because it is one of his strongest champions. He played Shen a lot in week 7, 8, 9, but as Meteos said, he's very bipolar on Shen. Sometimes he loves it, sometimes he's like, I don't want to touch Shen this week. But they knew exactly what they needed to do here at the playoffs.
Yeah, so what this means for the rest of North America now, it's Cloud9 is the #1 seed. They get the bye. They're in They bypass the group stage. They're immediately into the quarterfinals, essentially, of the World Championship. TSM is the number 2 seed and Vulcan the number 3 seed. Both of those guys will get placed in different groups as far as the group stage is concerned, I'm pretty sure. And then they're going to be playing against the rest of the world. We have so many teams already qualified, only a couple to come. These World Finals are going to be awesome, Riv.
It's going to be more than amazing. Being held at the Staples Center, I hope you guys made sure on August 31st we released more tickets. If you hadn't gotten them, to grab those as well, because they are going to be some amazing games. We talked a little bit earlier about who else is qualifying from around the world, and everybody wants to see what Cloud9 can do on the main stage.
Yeah, we were just over in Europe as well for Gamescom. We saw the European teams qualify. Lemon Dogs with the powerful mid laners. I mean, Cloud9's got powerful jungler right now in Meteos.
Yep. We'll have to see different strategies, different parts of the world. But right now, we're going to send it down to the main stage, where Shox is standing by with the champs.
Thank you very much. Give it up for your NALCS Summer Split champions, Cloud9.